All right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Friday afternoon, man. It is free agency day, aka Christmas for some of you NBA fans out there. And welcome to another edition of the NBA free agency show, man. CP the franchise. On the other side, we got the new Alex Rataros on the ones and twos. Special guest Tommy Beer is going to be joining us in a little bit, and we're going to be breaking it all down, man. All of the picks, all the signings, all the reactions, all the trades, anything that is coming across the news wire, we are going to be on top of it. Plus, this is an interactive show, man. As you guys know, we want to hear from you guys, the fans. Call us up 657-383-1509, and if you're calling on if you're watching on the Knicks Fan TV side, you can join us on the Knicks Fan TV Discord. If you're watching on the NBA Report side, you can watch us. You can call in on the NBA Report Discord. So this is a simulcast live on the NBA Report as well as Knicks Fan TV. Let's get those likes up. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys, and let's get into it, man. Action-packed show, ladies and gentlemen. What is going to happen? We ended last night with the rumors shocking the NBA. James Harden opting into his deal and looking for a trade from the Philadelphia 76ers. Obviously, we're going to be looking at what happens in Portland, what happens with Damian Lillard. You have notable free agents out there that are going to be looking to change teams. Is Kyrie Irving staying with Dallas? He's supposed to be meeting with the Suns. What is all of that about? We're going to talk about that. Can the champion Denver Nuggets maintain their championship run? Bruce Brown has some suitors across the NBA, so we'll see what happens with Bruce Brown. Kevin O'Connor of the Ringer Al and FanDuel TV just dropped a tweet and says Phoenix has something up their sleeve. So what does that mean? We'll just have to wait and see. We got the Knicks. Well, the Knicks signed Dante Divincenzo today. Looks like it. And Obi Toppin could be on his way out and headed to the Indiana Pacers. Remember, we've been talking for a long time that those two sides have been interested in a Toppin deal. Could today be the day as the Indiana Pacers look to retool? You have several teams with cap space that need to park their money somewhere. The Pacers, the Rockets, the Detroit Pistons, the Orlando Magic. So we'll see if they pick up any veterans. We'll have to see what happens with Fred VanVleet and so on, man. So absolutely action-packed show tonight. Al, how you feeling, man? How you feeling, bro?
I'm excited, man. It's free agency. You said it's Christmas for some people. It is Christmas for me, man.
Yeah.
Live for this stuff. I like movement in the NBA. I want to see some change, man. I always enjoyed the change throughout it's the one league I feel like where it gets shaken up the most and things can just completely change, right? One player can really alter the direction of one team. Sure, NFL, you got guys moving all over the place, but it's much, much more interesting in the NBA when one player can truly tip the scales of another team. So I'm excited, man. How are you feeling, though? You excited? You ready to see what our Knicks do? You ready to see what the entire league does, man? How are you feeling today?
He's excited, man. Look, this is a day where, as Knicks fans, we're used to not the blockbuster, not the loudest noise, but we make some noise. Last year was our grand slam with Jalen Brunson.
Absolutely.
I'm expecting a Divincenzo signing coming up soon. Josh Hart was the first domino in terms of him opting into his deal at $12.9 million. So he's taking care of the Knicks right now, as that will allow the Knicks to have the full mid-level exception based on a couple other moves. So Josh Hart taking care of the Knicks so that they can take care of his boy Dante Divincenzo and that the Knicks can get the full mid-level exception at about $12.5 million. You get Divincenzo in here. According to Ian Begley, Bruce Brown is another candidate that should be visiting the Knicks. So that's going to be very interesting. But as you said, man, things can change after today. And I think the East could be looking at a shakeup based on how this James Harden trade goes down, man. I mean, let's look at it in a couple of ways. First and foremost, from a Knicks standpoint, according to Woj, the Knicks and the Clippers are interested. This makes no sense for the Knicks. No sense whatsoever. We don't need that. As CP the franchise once said, we don't need that, bro. We don't need, if I'm going to have a guy dominating the ball, put it in number 11's hands and get out the way. That's what I've been saying.
1,000%.
We don't need another ball dominant guy that can't play no defense, who's aging and on the decline. Forget that. I mean, we don't need to be giving up. I mean, look, the price may be low because it is kind of a rental, but even still, I don't see how that helps this team. So from a Knicks standpoint, I just don't see it being there. Now, from a Clippers standpoint, I said on our show Knicks Weekly yesterday, there was a lot of talk about the Clippers and trying to manage their cap and trying to avoid that second apron. But we didn't necessarily know that, is Steve Ballmer on board with that? Because he looks like to me like an owner who is trying to win at all costs. You see him at every game. He's living and dying on every play, every possession. Ballmer wants to win.
Yep.
Ballmer wants to win. And so I think when he's looking at that investment in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they rescinded Eric Gordon's contract. They're trying to move some more salary around. I think he's trying to get Harden in there to form their big three and make one more push at this. And so to me, for the Clippers, it makes sense. But for Philly, this is where I loop the Knicks back into this, because for Philly, how do you sell your 30-year-old MVP Joel Embiid on whatever a possible return that the Clippers can give you? Was it a headline by Norman Powell, so on and so forth? How do you sell? I like Maxey, right? But how do you sell Embiid on that by just trading Harden for some supporting cast? To me, Morey has a tough job here because he has to try to land some sort of superstar to maintain Philadelphia's window, or else the process could be headed to New York, man. I think that's Leon's biggest wish, is getting Joel Embiid in New York. And I think the Harden move could solidify that.
Yeah, we got
this offseason.
That's the biggest question mark of this whole thing. James Harden not wanting to be in Philadelphia. What does that Sixers team look like? It was supposed to be Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Tobias Harris not too long ago, right? Then you trade Ben Simmons to the Brooklyn Nets because that's where Harden initially wanted to go, play with Embiid. They had a good regular season. Embiid won the MVP. You get ousted in the second round to the Boston Celtics. And now you say you're done. You want to go elsewhere. For Embiid, what does that mean for him? Because you had one superstar in Ben Simmons at that time, right? You go to another superstar in James Harden. Who's the next superstar for Joel Embiid to run with? If it's not Tyrese Maxey, I like him. Not sure what his ceiling is in this league, but I think it's kind of hard to tell Joel Embiid, say, hey, let's be patient to see what Max is going to be this season, and maybe you guys can now be the 1-2 tandem to punch this thing in and go to the NBA Finals. That's a tough sell. Maybe you say, hey, we got Tobias Harris still here. You, Maxey, that could be a formidable three right now. You guys could probably make a little bit of noise in the East. We'll see how it all shakes out, right? Maybe they're still good enough, and they probably should be good enough to still be in a playoff contention type of atmosphere. But that's the guy I'm looking at. Touch back on the Clippers, though, for the whole James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George thing. Look, you got 2 more years on that contract, right? Both Kawhi and Paul George have player options in 2024, 2025. So if you're Ballmer, yes, you have to go all in at this moment, right? Because you brought these 2 guys in. It's been underwhelming. When these guys are healthy, this team can roll. But you're going to tell me that you're going to rely on one more season where these guys are still fully under contract. And if things go sour, they could completely leave and say, you know what? We tried it. We can all walk away. You figure it out. I don't think Ballmer wants to do that just yet. So I see why James Harden could be in the picture for the Clippers, though. But I'm looking forward to see what this East looks like, man. I'm looking to see what changes could be made, because I know we're simulcasting. I know we're covering the NBA at large now.
Yeah.
But my orange and blue side is very intrigued, CP. Very, very intrigued.
Absolutely. We are just 2 minutes away from the kickoff. Woj and Shams got the announcements in the drafts. We are ready to go, man. A lot to talk about. Call us up, 657-383-1509. The number to call. What is going to go down? Is this Harden move a precursor to Joel Embiid coming to the Knicks? And look, from the Knicks side of things, this is why you stay patient. You stay patient. You don't push the panic button and go all in on a Zach LaVine, right? The Bulls are waiting for that. The Bulls are waiting for you to do that. and mortgage your future to go get Zach LaVine because they want to recoup some draft capital. This is why you stay patient on trying to get an Anunoby, even a Donovan Mitchell, right? You got to wait. If you're going to part with your depth, you got to try to make it worth it, right? And this is the only way for this Knicks team to become, in my opinion, true contenders. They're going to have to take a swing on a trade at some point within the next few years. Maybe it's an Embiid, or maybe it's somebody else. But this is why you stay patient. And this is another reason why for the Knicks, why I don't necessarily mind a Divincenzo pickup or even a Bruce Brown, because even though you say, yes, we're still undersized at the guard positions. Number one, those guys can help. They're winners, they're champions, they're veterans. They understand what it takes to win. You add more talent to the pool. Let's be honest, we could always use it more. And at the same time, it allows a team like the Knicks to stay flexible if they have to make a move in the future, if they have to trade to pair off some of that guard depth. It won't necessarily kill you so bad because you can have role players like a Divincenzo, like a Brown on your squad.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, man. So here we go. 6:00. The time is now.
Tuning in right now, man. I'm refreshing Twitter, see where we're at right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of news, so got to get prepared.
Salary cap numbers, according to salary cap numbers for next season, $136 million. The tax level is $165 million. The first apron is $172. You pass that, you're in a little bit of trouble. The second apron is $182. You hit there, it's curtains. You turtle soup out there. All right. The mid-level will be $12.4 million. Salary cap and tax levels will rise 10%. Open for business, ladies and gentlemen. What's happening? Call us up, man. 657-383-1509. And the first domino is Draymond Green, ladies and gentlemen. Draymond Green is headed to the Golden State Warriors. What a surprise. Draymond Green staying with the Dubs, 4-year, $100 million deal. No surprise there, Al.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Now, look, you got rid of Jordan Poole. You freed up the money that you had over there. You just brought in Chris Paul. It just makes sense that you bring Draymond back for that one more push at a title run. I mean, you think about him. I can't imagine him in anything else than a Warriors jersey with him, Clay, Steph. So this just makes too much sense.
Yeah, this was no surprise there. It was a move that had to be done. Both sides are meant for each other. But I don't think Draymond Green is as valuable to any other team but the Warriors. And now we'll see how they can make it work. Do I see them as immediate threats to Denver? Well, that has to go right. Number one, their health. And you look at the declining health of a Chris Paul, of a CP3, Klay Thompson. Mm-hmm. They're an older team now, but they are a veteran team. They are an experienced team. The second question, how does CP3 fit into that system? I don't see it as much as a problem as most do. I think if there's anybody that could figure it out, it is CP3, man. Listen, you got a team of 4 geniuses on the court, plus a Steve Kerr. They should be able to figure it out and get that done. To me, the most important part is their health and their depth. The health and their depth. They got to replace Divincenzo. We'll see what Andrew Wiggins does with a full season. How do their draft picks improve? Does Moody, does Kuminga, are they still there? Can they improve? Can the kid that they got from Santa Clara, can he help? He looks like a player. I like him.
Yeah. And look, you talked about the 4 players being geniuses plus Kerr. I also have to go back and think about the Houston Rockets with James Harden and Chris Paul. And remember the whole question, one ball, how's it going to work?
Yeah.
But they made it work, man.
Yep.
They made it work. That was a team that pushed the Warriors to 7 and could have gone to the NBA Finals that year, right? So if Harden and Paul could figure it out, I'm confident that the Golden State Warriors can figure out how to use Chris Paul. I think the one thing I'm intrigued to see is that change of pace, right? Because the Warriors run a lot of motion. It's a lot of up-tempo, fast-paced basketball. Chris Paul, kind of a slow-it-down guard, working the half court, set everybody up, play the game of chess. I think it'll be a good change of pace for them, especially if he comes off the bench. But I'm curious to see if it's a closing lineup of Steph, Chris Paul, Clay, Draymond, and throw whoever else in there, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's Looney or whoever. I'm just intrigued to see how that all works out once the season starts.
Yeah. I'm looking at if this is accurate. Pacers coast. Looks like the Pacers are signing Bruce Brown. Let me see. I want to make sure this guy's a credible source. Pacers coverage. He's with Blue Wire. He's with our podcast network.
Mm-hmm.
He claims the Pacers are signing Bruce Brown. Let's see what happens there. Tommy Beer on the way. That was always going to be the situation with Bruce Brown, was that, remember, Denver can only afford to pay him $7.8 million. And so the risk you had with Bruce Brown was that there's going to be teams out there that could offer him the mid-level or maybe even more. Teams like the Pacers, teams like Detroit, who have to spend their cap and who have that money to spend. Maybe he gets a 1-year balloon deal or a 1+1 balloon deal that he can't pass up. You're at the stage right now. You got the ring. Secure your future. You just never know what could happen. Maybe you take that $7.8 million bag with Denver, you get hurt, and that was it. So who knows? But let's see if somebody else can confirm the Bruce Brown news, because I'm not so sure about that source. So we'll table that. See what else Wo's got here. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Caris LeVert and the Cleveland Cavaliers, 2-year deal, $32 million. So LeVert going back to the Cavs for $16 million. Hey, look, that was a necessary move for both sides. The Cavs need to continue to maintain or even bolster their bench. So no surprise there. LeVert stays with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah. I mean, they need that bench depth, right? Because without Caris LeVert, who was also big in that first round for them, he was pretty much a stabilizer for them on offense. So you need to. It makes sense that the Cavs were going to retain him, but how are they going to fill out the rest of the depth? Because that was something that when they were competing against the Knicks, we saw the Knicks were able to expose them in that in that area. So who else are they going to get? Are they going to fill out the wing position? Are they going to? I know also Isaac Okoro was not healthy during the playoffs as well, and he was coming back off an injury. Does he take a next step in his development? What else do they do to add to that team? Maybe they add another guard to come off the bench behind Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Those are options that I'm looking to see if Cleveland goes in that direction as well.
Lakers picking up Taurean Prince, who just got clipped by the Minnesota Timberwolves, is going to the Lake Show. It's a nice wing pickup for the Lakers.
Oh,
nice for the bench. What do we
Kyle
got?
Kuzma.
What do we got?
Kyle Kuzma has agreed to a 4-year deal, $102 million, to return to the Washington Wizards.
Wow. Okay.
Interesting team. That's an interesting team.
Well, remember, you and I had David Aldridge on the NBA Report. Make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already. Hey, he said, look, he's going to get the bag, and Washington was certainly a possibility. So Kuz stays. There was rumors that Kuz was going to head to the Kings. The Rockets were also in play. But, once the Kings signed Harrison Barnes, I thought that took them out of the game for Kuzma. Now, if he goes there, is it, what was reported earlier this week about the Rockets was that they were looking at VanVleet and Dillon Brooks. So maybe they go back there because the Rockets have some money to spend. Okay.
I mean, didn't we see that Harrison Barnes agreed to go back to the Kings too?
That's right. Yeah.
Because that was a suitor too. That was a suitor for
Kuzma.
So maybe that's the reason why he went back to the Wizards as well, if he wasn't going to get that many touches over there.
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
I'm looking forward to seeing that, man, because Jordan Poole, Tyus Jones, Kyle Kuzma. It's an interesting squad they got over there. Daniel Gafford playing your 5.
Yeah, well, they have a nice young team that, they can go out there and chuck and do their thing.
Exactly. Nice young team.
Yeah.
No round. Be a 30-win some odd team.
Yeah, you call him the Washington Let It Flies. You know, Jordan Poole can go out there and pool party it up. Kuzma doing his thing. You still got Kispert.
Who takes more shots, Kuzma or Jordan Poole?
No, it's pool party, baby. It's pool party. He's got to justify that max bag. Well, you got both of them making northwards of 20 mils. So you can go my turn, your turn. Just let it fly, man. You know
Obi White returning to the Chicago Bulls for 3 years, $40 million. All
right. You got Drew Eubanks staying, going to the Suns, 2-year deal with the Suns. Drew Eubanks. I don't think that's what my guy Kevin O'Connor was referring to when he said the Suns are up to something, but that's a start. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Shout out to Michael White, who joined the franchise channel members on the Knicks Fan TV side, man. Shout out to everybody watching on the NBA Report as well. We got a $5 super chat from Anthony Mazzarese. Said, did you guys talk about your thoughts on Shams swaying the betting market with Scoot and the draft? Curious your take. Let's table that. You know, we got time in the offseason to really get to that. Right now, we want to focus on free agency and any trades going on. Call us up, man. 657-383-1509. Let's go to the phones. 240. What's your name? Where are you calling in from? Hello. Hang on. Let me make sure we got him here. Hang on. 240.
Yeah, that's me?
Yeah.
Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. Listen, I've been listening to you guys forever, so I can't even call a specific day or time that I was listening to you. But look, I've been listening to debate going on and on, well, whether we're going to sign somebody, whether we're going to trade for somebody, or whether we stand and pat. And I know a lot of people is like, yo, for real, you know, they want to do this, they want to trade for that. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't expect this team to go as far as it did this year.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of young talent. I have no problem with sitting pat for another year and seeing how far deep we can go into the playoffs because, A, we're not going to trade Julius Randle. We can't get value for him. I don't want to see us break up the young kid. I want to find a way to keep Obi Toppin and make him happy. To be honest with you, if Obi Toppin don't fit into the scheme, I think the scheme need to be changed. I love Tibbs, but he's non-flexible. You know, he don't change with the time. So if it's a choice between Obi and Tibbs, I'm kind of like, Tibbs got to go. But that's just me. I'm old school. I mean, I've been a Knicks fan since Walt Clyde. You know, I'm 62, so, you know, I've been there for a minute. I don't mind waiting. I don't got no problem going to the second round again. Listen, when we was in the playoffs this year against Miami, we was Jalen Brunson hitting a shot at the last minute to bring us back to the Garden.
Yep.
So as far as I'm concerned, we're right there anyway.
Yeah.
Another year for the kids to mature. I got no problem. Why is everybody jumping out the window trying to? Next year, the free agent market might be different. You never know what's going to shake loose just before the season starts.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm unashamedly telling you, I'm good with sitting pat.
Okay. Appreciate the call, man. Appreciate the call. Well, my thoughts are that do I expect a drastic move by this team this season or by deadline? Probably not. You'll likely see Divincenzo, probably Obi get moved or, you know, whatever roster moves that they need to make to accommodate Divincenzo here. And so you'll likely see 90% of the team back. Is that necessarily a bad thing? No, not necessarily. You hope that in the next year, your younger players continue to make a name for themselves, whether that's Quickly, that's RJ, that's Grimes, so on and so forth down the line. But if you look around, nobody's resting on their laurels. Even the Denver Nuggets, while they were in the midst of a finals, they're wheeling and dealing to get draft picks. You see the Boston Celtics going to get Porzingis. Miami, as big as the story as Miami was with all the undrafted guys and all that, they're still out there trying to get Brad Beal. They're trying to get Damian Lillard. Nobody is sitting back and just waiting because next year the success is not promised. It's not everything is year to year. And so for the Knicks, They have to continue to keep their ears to the pavement, keep their ears to the street, see what's going on, be active, hear what the Bulls want for Zach LaVine, hear what's going on in Philadelphia, because the East can be wide open. The East can be wide open, especially as this James Harden stuff continues to evolve. So you just have to stay patient, but be ready to strike while the iron is hot. And now joining us right now is our guy, Tommy Beer, man, the author of the What's on Tap with Tommy Beer newsletter. Definitely make sure you guys go and check that out. You could also catch him on the Odyssey podcast app, the co-host of the Orange and Blue Bloods podcast that he hosts with EJ Stewart for WFAN, man, talking about the Knicks. Tommy, how you doing, man?
Doing well, CP. Alex, how are you guys? Thanks for having me on. Just a little bit of news going on the last 15 minutes or so, huh?
Yes, absolutely, man. What are you most intrigued by as we kind of kick off the free agency portal?
Yeah, so it sounds like the guys the Knicks are most commonly attached to, the Divincenzos, and those guys, Bruce Browns, et cetera, are going to make multiple meetings and kind of take their time and see kind of how the market fleshes itself out. So the things I'm kind of most interested, I'd say, over the next few minutes, next few hours or so, what happens with Houston. I think that's kind of the first domino to fall. They're the one team with a lot of cap space. Do they make a run at Fred VanVleet? Does he leave Toronto? And if so, what's the fallout there? Obviously, that has some potential implications with OG Anunoby, et cetera. Another name that's been bandied about when it comes to the Knicks. So, I think that's kind of a very interesting scenario. And then if Houston's cap space evaporates by signing a deal, with VanVleet, then kind of, that kind of forces Kyrie Irving's hand, because he's kind of flirting with the Rockets, hoping to entice the Mavs to giving a little bit more. But once that cap space is eaten up, then there just aren't a lot of chairs left for guys that are looking for big money. Yeah. So that may force the Harden hand a little bit, and we'll see how that plays out. So I guess that's kind of the first domino to fall, so to speak, that I'm kind of keeping an eye on.
What did you make of the news that broke with Harden opting in and then going for a trade? What was your reaction when you found that out yesterday?
Please don't even. I don't want to hear any rumors. I don't want to see anything that Harden is coming anywhere near New York City. I don't want him at Penn Station. I don't want him at the Statue of Liberty. I don't want him in Brooklyn. I don't want him in Queens. Like just nowhere near New York. Bad fit. Just on so many levels. The Knicks finally are trending in the right direction. A lot of that, so much of that has to do with Jalen Brunson establishing himself, really exceeding any and all expectations this past season. And it's not just his production on the court, where he's more efficient than Harden. He's younger than Harden. He makes less than Harden. He's a more proven playoff performer than Harden. And more than that, he's a guy that you can kind of build a franchise around, not a guy that's demanded a trade from 3 teams in the last 20 months or so. Build around Brunsons, don't build around the Hardens and Kyrie Irving. So that was my initial take. And the other thing, which we'll talk about, over the next weeks and months, and I'm sure you'll get plenty of calls on it, is if Harden leaves, and now there's talk that they're not going to extend Maxey, what's Joel Embiid's opinion of this whole thing shaking out? The Joel Embiid, who was represented by our good buddy Leon Rose.
Tommy, is Joel Embiid somebody you want to see at Penn Station in one of the 5 boroughs?
I'd love to see Joel Embiid at Rose's Pizzas right outside Penn Station, at the Rucker, if Flushing Meadows, Corona Park, wherever he wants to come. We'll host a barbecue for him. Yeah, I've been hesitant to get into the they should chase Zach LaVine or trade Karl Anthony Towns, largely because of money. The one guy I'd be willing to kind of go all in for and probably overpay would be a Joel Embiid, because I do think that the potential combo tag team of Brunson and Embiid makes the Knicks a legitimate championship contender, which is something we haven't been able to say about the Knicks this century. So that is one name that I'd be willing to roll the dice on. It's obviously there's gamble, there's downside, there's injury, there's opportunity costs. It's going to cost you a ton, draft picks and young players, etc. But again, at some point, you got to use all this capital and push it to the middle of the table. Embiid's one of the few guys I'd be comfortable doing that for.
Absolutely, man. I mean, you got to take a gamble at some point.
At some point, yes.
Yeah. Whoa, and the Woj bomb confirms Bruce Brown goes to the Pacers for 2 years, $45 million, ladies and gentlemen. So forget the 7.8 mil from Denver, forget the 12 million mid-level exception. We're getting bags out here, folks. And hey, Indiana was one of those teams that we talked about. The teams with money to burn: Indiana, Houston, Detroit, Orlando. How are they going to use that? A guy like a Bruce Brown could get short-term bags. We talked about VanVleet as well being able to do that. Bruce Brown cashing in for 22.5 bags going to the Midwest, going to Indiana Pacers, man. Al, what do you think? What do you think about that, man?
Look, they need a defender out there, man. They were one of the worst defenses in the NBA, especially around the perimeter. So getting someone like Bruce Brown definitely reassures that up, especially when you have someone like Miles Turner in the backcourt. It makes it a little bit more of a stable defense instead of having to rely on Turner the entire time. I like the signing for the Pacers. Not really the signing that puts you over to the next level, but you hope you have a healthy Tyrese Halliburton that can get everybody in motion. Pacers still need to do some work, but I can see that being a nice play-in team right there with signing Bruce Brown. And if everyone stays healthy, I like that. I like that pickup for them.
Tommy, how about you, man?
A couple of things, 3 things actually. While I got you guys on here, to the audience at home, I suggest putting on your notifications for guys like Woj and Shams, because there's going to be a lot of fake tweets, retweeted, etc. So one of the things, especially on days like this at the trade deadline, I recommend so you know that you're getting somebody official, a verified source. If you keep it on your phone, it'll pop up on your home screen if you have the alerts on. Number 2, to Alex's point, the East is going to be got a little bit better. And this is obviously isn't the only free agent. Something to keep in mind. There's going to be a lot of movement up and down the East Coast. The Eastern Conference is wide open. We'll see how that plays out. And lastly, and I like the signing. First of all, I'm a Bruce Brown fan. Yeah. I don't think I'd go. And there you have Jeremy Grant, 5-year, $160 million deal to Portland.
Whoa.
That's a big money. And we'll get to that in a sec. As far as Brown is concerned, again, I like the player. I don't love the 20, the 45 million. I thought he'd be closer to 15, 18, that range, kind of the Josh Hart range. But again, short-term deal. Pacers have to spend their money somewhere. If it doesn't work out, they can find the trade partner for him. As we've seen, there's plenty of opportunities. And just one thing, as Knicks tangentially related to Knicks, we have Mark Stein reporting earlier today, and others have noted that Obi Toppin, potentially a name that has surfaced in trade talks. We know that that's not shocking. The Pacers, per Stein, were one of the teams, I think he called it the top trade candidate, something along those lines. So
leading
how does
candidate.
that impact? It sounded like the Knicks were looking to trade Obi strictly into cap space, so they didn't have to take any salary back. We take back a couple second rounders, whatever the case might be. Does this impact that situation? I'd have to, crunch the numbers, but that's the first thing I thought of. It's not a player that would impact Obi's playing time, but it could potentially impact and limit the amount of cap space the Pacers have to absorb a contract like Obi Toppin, which is right around $6.5 million. So something to keep in mind.
True indeed, man. Now, as you said, Jeremy Grant cashing in 5 years, $160 million deal with the Portland Trailblazers. Jeremy Grant cashing in. Look, he's a player that they need if they're going to keep Dame, if they're going to try to build a contender, whatever they want for Dame.
He should give like 5% of that to Dame, like maybe like 4%, like or something,
Right. So I mean, what do you guys think? Is this
an overpay, bro?
Does this help keep Dame Lillard in Portland? I don't think so, man.
You need more than Jeremy Grant. I mean, there were stories about how Dame wanted Jeremy Grant in Portland, but the average for 5 years is $32 million for Jeremy Grant, guys. That's a lot. To put in perspective, Julius is making 26, and Jeremy Grant, like, hasn't made an all-star. Like, I thought, like, he liked him on the Nuggets, very versatile player.
Yeah,
I think a solid role player, but $32 million a year
continues to cash out. Remember the deal that he got with Detroit from Denver?
That's a good point. I know Mike Connolly was the guy who had like the highest salary guaranteed money for I've never made an all-star team. Jeremy Grant might be that guy now, right? Is there anybody else that's made more than 160 million without? And I like Jeremy Grant as a player, versatile, contributes on both ends, can knock down the three. Maybe there's a couple team options on the end of that. Maybe, some of that 160 million incentives. Another thing to keep in mind, these guys are just tweeting out the initial, we don't know the structure. We don't know the guarantees, et cetera. So something to keep in mind.
I believe, as you asked that, who's made that type of money and never made an all-star, Harrison Barnes, over 200 million in career earnings. This was courtesy and give credit to Fran Fraschilla. It was funny that you mentioned that because I came across that today. Fran Fraschilla says, in the tweet, he says, I say this all the time to young players. What do you call a role player in the NBA? A multi-millionaire, because Harrison Barnes has now made well over $200 million in career earnings, man. Harrison Barnes, Jeremy
Grant. Not bad work if you can get it.
No, not bad work, man. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. The NBA Free Agency Show 2023 has kicked off, man. CP the Franchise, Alex Rotaros, our special guest, Tommy Beer in the building, man. Call us up, 657-383-1509 and get your takes in. If you want to talk Knicks, you want to talk NBA, whatever you want to talk about, we are here. And let's get to it. To the Discord we go. Zay, how you feeling, Zay? What's good?
What's going on, fellas? How you feeling?
Good, man. What's going on?
Good, man. Just looking at all the moves come in. I just wanted to kind of piggyback two things. One with the Knicks, right? I don't expect the Knicks to do much. I think it's going to be a quiet offseason outside of just retaining the talent that we have. I think the win is Josh Hart, retaining Josh Hart because we gave up a first-round pick for him. Adding Divincenzo should be is good. But I still don't see where there's a roster for him, a slot for him, even if we traded Obi, because Obi's a forward. So it's like, what are we going to, is Josh Hart going to pretty much slide down and take Obi's space? So I think that still is a little bit clogged up. But overall, everything, we got to still be patient. Remember, this front office came in and we've made incremental moves ever since they've come. Every year we've gotten better, other than the second year, which was like just the blip year. I don't know what to call it. But outside of that, we've gotten incrementally better. And yeah, I understand all other teams are making moves. But the league shifts around so much. You never know. Next year, if Embiid's on the market, then we're instantly back. Just, that's the bigger move for me. So patience is good, because that's what has brought us the success that we have now, not making irrational moves. I think the Knicks are going to continue to do that. Also, as like an overall league thing, I like the Kuzma move. I think that may help us a little bit more as far as getting that Washington pick. Having Kuzma there, having Jordan Poole there.
Okay,
they're still gonna be a bad team, but I think
not bad. Maybe they have a Utah type of year, right?
Yeah, correct. That's what I'm hoping. It will be able to keep that pick, and just hopefully we can, keep as many picks as we can. With even though we have a lot of protections, be able to trade it. But I'm not gonna hold you guys up, man. But let's just be patient. That's all I'm.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, Zay. Not a bad thought there. Not a bad thought. Could Kuzma help Washington compete this year? We'll have to wait and see what happens. As far as the Josh Hart stuff, Tommy, well, number one, we got to wait and see how the whole offseason transpires. Right? You just never know in terms of how the roster looks. But let's say they do trade Obi. Could we see a scenario where you're going, three guards? You maybe have Hart going in at the backup for Julius alongside Hartenstein. I mean, certainly, and then, maybe pick up a vet power forward off the scrap heap. What do you think there?
Or Tibbs plays Randall 48 minutes a game. Why not? I think that certainly is an option. Trading, having Hart fill in at the 4. I don't like going into a season relying on Josh Hart, playing, having to guard big, strong power forwards on a nightly consistent basis. Would I mind it in a over a week stretch when Obi Toppin sprains, whatever, the backup power forward is out, with the flu, or Randall, has an ankle sprain or something along those lines? That's fine. Obviously, yeah, they would, in addition to the mid-level exception, they also have the biannual exception they can use for around $4.5 million. So, is it a guy like Danilo Gallinari, a guy like Paul Reed out of Philadelphia? There are fours out there, George Niang, that could potentially fill in and fill in that role. But my issue with the Obi thing is, if you're going to trade him and basically dump him for second-round picks, why not get half a season out of him? Maybe boost his value. Are we positive Julius Randle's going to be 100% in training camp and the start of the season? There's just a lot that can go on there. So again, if you're not getting anything of value in return from him and it's strictly a salary dump, I don't see the rush to do so, because that's a situation where somebody will give you a second-round pick for Obi Toppin, or a pair of second-round picks tomorrow, or 10 minutes before the trade deadline on February 10th or whatever it is. So I have it as insurance for the first 60% of the season. Maybe something happens. You never know. There's an opportunity to trade Randall for an Embiid, or who knows what might come of it. That you might regret giving away Obi Toppin, the 8th pick just a few years ago, and getting so little in return.
I think the concern, though, Tommy, and just to play devil's advocate, I think for the Knicks, it's like you've seen 3 years that Tibbs has been pretty reluctant to even cut Randall's minutes, even just to give him some sort of rest when he's been fully healthy.
Right.
That at this point, do you take that gamble if you're the Knicks that Tibbs will somehow give him that much playing time, where we haven't seen that at all? And if you're going to get the value for him right now, might as well just get the value, because he only has one more year left. And so I would expect the team wants to get him before training camp to say, all right, let's get you acclimated to the system, get you somehow up and running for this regular season, and just get a full evaluation of him to see if they do want to extend him. I think that's the only thing I would say. While I agree with you 100%, don't want to just trade him on the penis. Maybe you can increase his value. We're not sure if Julius Randle is 100%. I think the counter would be, are we going to is Tibbs going to, one, give him the chance to play that many more minutes if Randle's even not that healthy? And two, could we even lessen his value if that happens? And then by the trade deadline, the second round picks that we thought we could get, we're now going to even get less than, because what team is going to take him for half a season, evaluate him, and then give him an extension?
Yeah, so a couple things. One, I think that the value of a second, let's say the trade today is a pair of second round picks. As we've seen it basically every year, you can buy a pick in the late second round. I'm not saying that they're worthless, but I don't think that would be the primary reason for holding it up. And the other thing to keep in mind with the Obi Toppin situation is, yes, the team would then only have a few months to extend him. It's important to note that the team would have his bird rights. So the Lakers, for instance, with the Rui Hachimura trade, gave up 4 second rounders for Rui, even though they weren't going to extend him, but they have his bird rights. So now they can re-sign him as a restricted free agent this offseason. And that's the team that trades for Obi in February would also have him as a restricted free agent in this offseason. So yeah, again, if the options were A, trade him now and get a first and a young player on a good contract, okay, do it. I have no problem playing Obi. I shouldn't say I have no problem trading Obi, but I totally agree with you that I think there's almost no chance that Obi's going to get an opportunity to succeed and flourish in New York when Tibbs is here and Randle are here. It isn't going to happen, assuming that Tibbs is here and Randle's healthy. But that being said, there's so little value he's getting in return now that I value the insurance of having him for 3 months, 4 months, over, let's say they only get 1 second round pick as opposed to 2 second round picks at the deadline. That's kind of my thought process.
Salute
Gotcha.
to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. NBA free agency show. CP the franchise, Alex Rotaros, Tommy Beer in the building. We are simulcasting live both on the NBA Report and Knicks Fan TV. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button, hitting that thumbs up button on both channels. Just subscribing to the channel and sharing these videos. Call us up 657-383-1509, or you could hit us up on the Knicks Fan TV Discord or the NBA Report Discord. Shout out to Greg Gardner, $20 super chat, says, speaking of trades for Joel Embiid, what do you guys think about the situation in Milwaukee? Contending team with a first-year head coach. Who knows what happens with Middleton? Do you see the Knicks in play for Giannis in the future? Now, Ian Begley of SNY did report that several teams are monitoring Giannis' situation in Milwaukee. It's worth noting here, he says several teams are keeping an eye on it. Giannis is eligible for an extension with the Bucks this summer. Financially, it makes sense for him to wait on signing the extension or on a new contract. Well, Middleton is certainly somebody that they need to maintain their championship window. He's another free agent. We'll have to see. Houston was a name to watch out there. So let's see what happens with Middleton. The Kings were also a name out there. They did bring in Adrian Griffin, an upstart coach who comes with a lot of acclaim. And so we'll have to see how he maintains their edge, their championship edge. But I would have to think with him there that they're going to keep it going. I don't see Giannis just becoming available just out of the blue. I still think Giannis with the Bucks is still at least a 2-year run before any type of changes happen. But, you never know in the NBA either way. What do you guys think about that, Giannis?
Yeah, listen, it's going to be a topic of conversation, and as well it should be. You're basically not doing your job as a front office if you're not keeping an eye on the guys that can shift the balance of power in the NBA, and there's very few. Giannis, arguably one of the best 2-3 players, however you want to rank them. But you get Giannis on your team, you're a championship, if not a favorite. You're a legit title contender whenever he's on your roster. So he's a guy that again, the Knicks should keep that in mind, whether it's Embiid or Giannis. Don't necessarily bank on it because they've been burned on it in the past. But as I've written and tweeted and et cetera, the Knicks are in a unique position than as opposed to the Knicks we've accustomed to, because in years past, just get a superstar, any superstar, to make the team relevant. Doesn't matter his salary, doesn't matter his age, doesn't matter his loyalty to franchises. So if a guy like Bradley Beal, go get him. If there's a guy like James Harden, go get him. And we'll figure it out later. The Knicks are in the position now where they can be selective in superstars that they choose to pursue. We saw them, and we saw this manifest itself with the patience that Leon Rose and company exhibited in the Donovan Mitchell deal. Wait until the opportunity is right. For a guy like Giannis, it's a no-brainer. If you have the opportunity to get him, you go all in. And just one other thing regarding the Rockets, they were also attached to Brook Lopez. So
that's right.
Again, another reason it will be interesting to see what Houston does with their money.
For Giannis, yeah, I think 2 more years is. I think next season we'll get a better idea because he has a player option the following season. I think the fear for the Bucks would be he could just walk away. You get no assets in return. So I think it'll be a test run to see how this free agency winds up for the Bucks. See how this season goes, maybe see how the beginning of next season starts out too. And then probably by the trade deadline of next year, if Giannis wants to stay with Milwaukee, we'll know about it. But if he wants to go, we'll know about it by next year's trade deadline, just because I think, one, he will want to do them justice just for how they've done, like they've taken care of him. So I think they want to get him. He would want to get that team some value in return if he was going to move on. I just don't see him being the type of player that says, look, I'm going to wait for my last year, opt out of this contract and go wherever I want. It'll be interesting, man. I mean, and it's Giannis. I haven't seen anything where it screams like he's ready to leave. Even like the rumors in the past where it's like, oh, he's getting a little testy. He's like, he still stayed there. Like, you know what I mean? So he's established out there. He's got family out there. I don't know. I don't see. I feel like that if Giannis leaves, that would be shocking in my opinion.
Yeah.
That would be shocking.
Well,
agreed. I think there's a better chance he finishes his career as a Buck.
Me too.
Than goes anywhere else. But listen, obviously, I think it's possible.
And anything is possible, man. But it better start for him. It's got to start with Middleton and Lopez coming back because that's their best chance. I mean, look, we talked about teams like the Lakers back when they moved the pieces in for AD, or the Bucks when they moved the pieces in for Jrue Holiday. It gets you rings. It got them a ring, but now becomes a challenge of how do you maintain that championship window when you're limited in terms of the moves that you can make. Guys are trying to take care of themselves, secure their future, maybe get one last, in Brook Lopez's case, get one last bag before the sun sets. And so the business side of things always works, opposite of how you hope to, in terms of maintaining a winner. So we'll have to see what happens there. There was some tweets flying around that Max Strus signed a 3-year, $64 million bag with the Cavs, but I haven't seen it from Woj or Shams. Trying to look here. I don't know if you guys saw it by either one of those guys.
Have not seen it reported.
Okay.
Haven't seen it either.
All right. Yeah. So we'll hold off on that one. Never mind on that one. Let's see. Anything else? Well,
Javon Carter.
Javon Carter.
Bucks. Yep.
Javon Carter leaving the Bucks and headed to the Bulls. I believe it was also confirmed somewhere that was it a team option on the second year of Bruce Brown's deal. Trying to see where I saw that.
See that either.
All right.
There was somebody had a team option somewhere.
Okay.
I know Lee for the Suns. They re-signed him. He I think the second year for him is a player option.
Yeah.
So,
Suns.
This
Lee.
is interesting. I missed this one.
Yeah.
Celtics and Porzingis agreed to a 2-year, $60 million extension.
Ooh, there you go. So the Kristaps era kicking off in Boston, man. Good for Kristaps, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, good for Kristaps, man.
I think that's fair for both sides. They're not committing long term to an injury prone guy.
Yeah,
$30 million is a decent deal for the Celtics. So I think that's one of those. Yeah, that makes sense for both sides.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. For the C's, obviously they needed some more size. I think Porzingis can kind of step in and supplement what Horford can give them, especially from deep. Horford, it's only a matter of time before the time catches up with him. He's had a good run, especially on the second tour with the Celtics. I'm also interested to see how they handle losing a Marcus Smart, who was kind of their heart and their toughness, their grit. Now Brad Stevens saying, "Hey, look, Brown and Tatum, you guys are supermax guys. You got to supermax out. This is your team."
I thought the same thing, CP. Like the one thing I thought like the Celtics needed watching them lose in the conference finals, like more toughness, and trading away Smart. I understand the deal. They got first round picks back, and the KP was part of that whole thing. So I get it. I just don't see how a basketball team parts ways with Marcus Smart and then gets better and improves. I just, he's a guy that, if he's on your team, you love him. If you play against him, you hate him. He's just one of those guys that, if you're playing pickup at LA Fitness, like you want him on your team because you're going to stay on the court all day. And so I just, and Grant Williams is another guy, obviously not as talented but you lose that type of toughness, those type of glue guys. I don't think it bodes well for the Celtics.
I agree with that. I think Marcus Smart is, I think that piece alone, because I think he was an underrated playmaker. Obviously, defensively, he was good, solid for them, tough, gritty, won Defensive Player of the Year last season.
Yeah.
I don't know how you think losing him and like that, he was the guy who kept everyone accountable. You know what I mean? Yep. So if you lose someone who has that type of voice and who's been there, we're talking about a guy who played 9 years with the Celtics, right? 9 years with the Celtics and 108 playoff games.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's experience.
What, 5 conference finals?
Yep.
Yeah. That's experience you just lost.
And it's not a coincidence they went there with him as their lead guard.
True.
Right.
Yeah, man. Let's see how they handle it. And when we talked about Phoenix, they re-signed Damian Lee. They signed Eubanks. They're another team that I'm very interested in seeing how can they, with that 3, with that 4, if you consider Ayton.
Yep.
What do they do to build out the rest of the team? What do they do to build out the rest of the team? We saw Denver with the formula that most championship teams have. It's not just your stars, it's your depth, It's your versatility. Obviously, it's coaching, and Vogel has the ring. He has the resume, but it's the depth. How do they fill out that bench to put together a cohesive, complementary unit? There's only one basketball, so who's going to be out there doing the dirty work? Who's going to be out there taking on the tough assignments? We'll have to see. Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer and FanDuel says the Suns are cooking. Tommy, what do you think that could possibly be, man?
Yeah, well, the one thing they're happy about, regardless of what happens today, is Bruce Brown leaving Denver. That gives it. He was obviously a huge piece for the Nuggets.
Yeah.
And the Denver, rightfully so, is the odds-on favorite to retain the championship until someone takes the belt from them. You got to give them that respect. So, I didn't love the Beal, signing, obviously, trade rather, from a Phoenix standpoint in terms of they didn't, they kind of replicated what they already did well, didn't address some of their needs. And the biggest issue is, how do they, as you mentioned, how do they kind of deal with the lack of depth that they're just not going to have anybody on the bench. So that's why they've been aggressive early on, signing guys, Keita Bates-Diop, they just signed to a 2-year, $5 million deal as well. Damian Lee, you noted. So those are the guys they're going to try to find guys on veteran minimum. It's kind of the, it's something we've seen the last, 10, 15 years when teams kind of, band together and get the super team really top heavy with $50 million contracts up top. And then you hopefully get some guys you can slide it underneath. The new CBA is going to make that a little bit more difficult. So, when you exceed that second apron, that makes things a lot more challenging in that respect. So we'll see how it plays out. They have a puncher's chance, but make no mistake. You roll out KD, Booker, and Beal, they can beat anybody anytime in a 7-game series. Do they find their Bruce Brown? The Nuggets signed Bruce Brown for $4.5 million this past offseason, and he became the 6th, 7th man in a championship rotation. The Suns need to find that guy, and those are the guys that can sometimes make a difference. It was reported that the Mavs were deciding between Bruce Brown and JaVale McGee. Ended up going JaVale McGee. We know where the Mavericks ended up last season, and we know where the Nuggets. It's not a direct correlation, but sometimes fleshing these guys that you sign, the big names today will be, oh, there you go. Kyrie Irving has signed a 3-year, $126 million contract to return to Dallas.
Yep. There you go. The obvious.
Those guys will get the headlines, but the other guys sometimes make a difference.
Yeah, this was what other choice did he have? He literally
find it funny. Did you find it funny that he was meeting with other?
Hilarious! It was hilarious.
He was looking anywhere and everywhere for somebody to show him some love. So like, Dallas, look, so this team is interested in me.
Right. Look, this was obvious. This was a marriage that needed to be maintained for both sides. In Dallas, in terms of their best chances to compete, we'll see another year together with Luka and Kyrie, a longer year together, training camp together, how they coexist. Dallas did make some upgrades at the draft. There was talk that they were interested in DeAndre Ayton. We'll see if that continues to play out. But Kyrie, 3-year, $126 million deal. There was no way he was going to the Suns. It obviously made no sense. From a basketball standpoint, made no sense financially. I mean, Kyrie Irving was looking for a long-term commitment for the Nets. When they didn't want to give it to him, he wanted a trade. So there's no way he's going anywhere, LA or the Suns, for a vet minimum or mid-level. He needs his bag.
The Suns was comical because what was he going to do? Volunteer?
Right.
He was going to intern for a year.
Right. So you can't make it up.
I still can't believe Dallas, gave this, guaranteed this guy $126 million. Like, how often how have they not learned? All these other teams, it's like the crazy girlfriend. Like, she cheated on, the last 4 boyfriends, but she'll be good for me. Like, she'll be honest. So yeah,
I'm the one to make her change. I got you.
Yeah, exactly.
Cuban, man. Go only Cuban. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. We are simulcasting on the NBA Report and KnicksFanTV. We got 2,300 watching here on KnicksFanTV, man. Let's get those likes up. If you guys are new in the chat, leave us a hashtag new. We'll shout you guys out. And we are currently breaking down each one of these signings as they come across the newswire. Quiet on the Knicks front right now. Haven't heard anything just yet. Are they waiting to execute an Obi trade before they make the Divincenzo signing official? Let's see what happens there. George's.
I mean, nobody's going to take up a collection for Kyrie or Harden, but just thinking, it's amazing if they had just played basketball and kept their mouth shut and stayed together in Brooklyn or wherever they wanted to go. They left so much money on the table, like again, $125 million on the sneeze at. Harden's going to make $35 million, but these are guys that could have easily signed the KD $200 million extensions, if they just, not done anything stupid.
Easily, man. We have George's Niang going to Cleveland. So Cleveland trying to add some depth to their bench. 3-year, $26 million deal for George's Niang as he leaves the Sixers, man.
CP, that was your free agent. He was on the free agency list.
He wasn't my top 5 list. He wasn't my top 5 list. All right, so he gets about 8.5 to go to the Cavs. Okay.
The minibus. The minivan.
Joe Ingles to reach an agreement with the Orlando Magic. So somebody that the Knicks, some people had mentioned as a possible Knicks link. Okay. Joe Ingles going to Orlando.
So nice veteran pickup for the Magic.
Yes.
Nice veteran shooter. Good pickup, man.
Need some. A lot of young kids have an adult in the room.
Yeah.
That'll kind of teach them how to prepare, play, all that good stuff, and provide some outside shooting and a good playmaking.
No question, man. I want to shout out TJ Noble, salute Anthony 007, team #new, man. How we feeling out there? Shout out to Ernest Stevenson. No face, just a voice. Salute. No face, just a voice. Chris Dolan, salute and welcome to the franchise channel memberships. Mid Sneak. How you feeling, man? Salute to everybody in there. Chris Middleton back with
go,
the
CP.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. What's the numbers there? I'm trying
102 million for 3 years.
3 years. So he opted out of 40 million to sign a average annual value of around 30, but got 100 million guaranteed in the process.
Got it guaranteed. Okay.
I think that makes sense for both sides. That's a fair deal.
Yeah. So Middleton is in, and we'll wait and see what happens with Brook Lopez. Is it Rockets? Is it Milwaukee? Is it someone else?
I would think that with Middleton back, he'd re-up with Milwaukee.
With Milwaukee. For Houston, I was telling Alex, Tommy, for Houston, why would they want to block Alperen Sengun?
I had the same thought. I had the same. I love Sengun as a player.
Lopez ain't coming to develop anybody. He's not coming to be a mentor. He's coming to play.
Yep. And so and they're not going to be a legit contender right away. So why would you block Sengun to win 34 games next year? I don't see it.
Yeah, that's certainly a head scratcher. Out.
What was it? Did I see that? I think earlier today, did I see that Joe Harris was being moved to Detroit?
Joe Harris was traded to the Pistons. Yes, Joe Harris and I believe some draft capital to the Pistons, and that created a $20 million trade exception for the Nets. So are the Nets up to something? Are they cooking something?
Well, a lot of that just to avoid, to get to sign Cam Johnson. And there you go, Woj. Free agent Cam Johnson has agreed to a 4-year, $108 million. So some of the right on cue, some of the money they cleared out for Joe Johnson, they're going to, they can shift that over to paying Cam Johnson. So about 26 million a year for Cam Johnson. That sounds about right. That sounds about right for both sides. Maybe a little bit, but a little bit more than I thought he probably would have gotten on the open market. But Nets couldn't take a chance. He plays well alongside Bridges. It's not like they could use that cap space elsewhere. So that's with the rising cap, I don't have an issue with that. And plus, he played a lot better when he had more opportunities for Brooklyn. So I
like him, man. I like Cam Johnson now. But let's say the Nets were interested in a Dame trade. How would the Cam Johnson extension impact things from a salary standpoint?
I don't see any way. The Dame thing to Brooklyn doesn't make any sense to me, because why would Brooklyn pick up the phone unless you're getting Mikal Bridges back? And if you're the Nets, why would you trade Mikal Bridges and pieces, draft picks, Cam Johnson, whatever the case might be, for Dame Lillard, when the cast around Dame Lillard is not better than the team that finished 13th in the West in Portland, and they got Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons and some other pieces. So I don't see any way that I just don't see how that benefits either party. I don't see why Portland want to do it. I don't see why Brooklyn would want to do it. I don't see why Dame would want to do it. So I guess they're, if I'm Brooklyn, I'd be interested in, if I'm trading Dame, I'm asking for Bridges, Johnson, and draft picks, and we'll go from there. And if I'm Brooklyn, why do I do that? And if I'm Dame, why do I want to go there? So we'll see.
Jakob Poeltl, 4-year, $80 million with the Raps, $20 million for Jakob Poeltl. Raptors traded to get him back, so it was pretty clear that they were going to re-sign him and keep him. We've heard that Pascal Siakam intends to stay. OG's pretty much there until Masai's blown away. We'll see what happens with Fred VanVleet. So it seems like the Raptors they're just keeping it going, man. It's keeping it going.
Yeah, so that
opts into his deal.
That would be an indication that they don't have any intention of, letting Cleveland hopes to work out a sign and trade to bring Strus to the Cavaliers for Jake Fisher. As far as Poeltl goes, that would seem to be an indication that Masai has zero interest in blowing it up. I don't think any of us thought he would kind of go that direction, but if you lose Poeltl, if you lose VanVleet, then maybe you trade Siakam and OG and just really kind of start fresh, get a bunch of draft picks, a bunch of young players. But now under contract next year, they're going to have Poeltl and Siakam and OG. But I don't, what are they going to do at point guard if VanVleet leaves? They're not really going to have much cap space to play with to bring in his replacement. Is Malachi Flynn going to hold down the fort? They maybe have to work some trades. We'll see.
It'll be very interesting considering that Masai has been so high on all of his players, right? Especially OG Anunoby. He's looking for a good haul. So how he handles losing Fred VanVleet, if VanVleet is to go to Houston, that will be a challenge for the Raptors, because I don't see Flynn being that guy to step into that role. I mean, he was in and out of the rotation to start off last year, so I don't know where that replacement is going to come for.
Yeah, I wouldn't put anything past Masai. One of the better GMs in the game. But you'd think, listen, there'll be point guards floating around that he can sign for the, for $5 million, in that neck of the woods. But to lose a guy like, they just don't have anybody else to step in as a starting point guard on the roster.
Mm-hmm. Salute to our franchise channel members, man. My 2 cents. What's good? He says, sorry, PCP. I saw that Alec Burks re-signed with the Pistons. Well, they picked up his option. Yes. Troy Weaver picked up his option and said, here's 10 million bags for you, Alec Burks. Shout out to Sean F., franchise channel member of 3 months. He says, here we go. Salute, and let's get some dogs on this Knicks roster. It's all quiet on the Knicks front right now, man. Leon and Wes are working on something. Let's see what happens. Randy Hamilton, $20 super chat, says trade Julius Evan to Philly for Tobias and 1 pick. Trade Philadelphia's pick, our first 2 unprotected, IQ Grimes, Obi, and Obi's brother to Spider. Sign Austin Reeves. Wow, so he's ready for a shakeup. Sign Austin Reeves, 4-year, 13 per. Now Austin Reeves is going to cost way more than that, buddy. Yep. Spruce. Max Strus, I guess, 3 years, 30, and Divincenzo, 2-year, 30. Okay. And guys, he's working the trade machine.
He is working everything, not just the trade machine.
Absolutely.
One thing to know with the Kyrie Irving, I just saw it on Twitter too. Knicks pick more likely to convey next year for Dallas. A top 10 protected, most likely. Yeah.
Just as long as they're not up any nefarious deal, shady.
Unless the Mavs decide, after, they're going to quit the final 81 games to keep a top 10 pick. Maybe they'll do that. Yeah.
All right. So hopefully that bodes well for the Knicks. Get them another first-round pick in the 2024 NBA draft. Shout out to Zay. $5 super chat says, also, what if the big change needed for this squad is a coaching change? We have guys that have 3-and-D potential, but our offense doesn't cater to shooters. Yeah, I mean, that's not happening anytime soon, man. That's not happening anytime soon. You have a better chance going to get a wing, the elusive wing, than Tibbs getting fired at this stage in the game. I just don't see it.
Next season would have to go completely south to start off. For Tibbs to get fired, but make it to the second round after a down season, he got himself some time to coach his team a little bit longer, man. So for all those people looking for a coaching change, It's not happening until the team like really goes south in their performance. But I understand the sentiment because they're looking for better offense, right? Which to me, if you're looking at someone like Dante Divincenzo, is the year that he had in Golden State, could it be duplicated in New York because of their motion offense, right? Everyone's consistently cutting, setting backdoor screens. Could that be replicated, or would it be more of a Milwaukee Bucks Dante DiVincenzo if he were to sign with the New York Knicks? That's a question that I have. And I think it'd be more so the Milwaukee Bucks, just because under Budenholzer, that offense is a little bit more similar to what Tibbs runs than what Kerr runs out in Golden State.
All right, man. Salute. Let's get to the phones. Let me get Redman in here. Hang tight. Redman on the Discord. When you hear this, go ahead and unmute your mic. Redman on the Discord. Oh, we lost Redman again. Hang on. Redman, hang tight. All right, Redman, you're on. Go ahead. Redman going once.
Hello?
Yep, you here.
All right. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Man, I'm just let me know what you think. I think we just run it back, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just run it back. If everybody was just healthy and nobody talking about Sims, because Sims was a big part of us being a great rebounding team for the whole year, and he was hurt during the first game, I think, of the playoffs, the first series. But if I believe he could have helped us a lot with the Heat, Sims, because he just was a great rebounder. But if we could just make it healthy, with all our guys healthy, I know it's tough because 80 games, but if we could just do that and just pick up somebody, I think we'd be right there, But what about, I don't know why, to me, Brook Lopez would be a great pickup for us. I know we have Mitch, but man, I would trade Mitch for Brook Lopez, and we don't need much. We just need shooters. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, well, who are you going to trade for him? You got to trade for Brook Lopez. They can't afford him.
Well, if we pick him up and then trade Mitch to get some other shooters.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking sign and trade territory. You're talking sign and trade territory. So you're saying you would trade Mitch to the Bucks?
Yeah, trade him to the Bucks.
Okay.
And what about Gabe Vincent? I like the way he played this year. I mean, I know that he might go back to the Heat, but he'd be a player to pick up.
By the reports, it sounds like and appreciate the call, man. By the reports, it sounds like Miami can't even afford Gabe Vincent right now. According to the reports, Gabe Vincent is looking for a bag, man. He said, "Listen, I took you out to the finals, man. I was in it. I could have been MVP if we would have won this thing." So Gabe's looking for a payday. Strus is looking for a payday. Miami could be in a little bit of trouble, man. It's the opportunity costs when you exceed your expectation, or when you exceed expectations and get to the finals.
The cost of winning.
The cost of winning. That's it, man. Absolutely. Shout out to Sims, though. Shout out to Sims, but Sims wasn't helping us put the ball in the basket, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
My thing with the Brook Lopez thing is that we just discussed this yesterday at CP. That according to Fred Katz of The Athletic, the Knicks have been protective of Mitchell Robinson in trade talks with other teams. League sources have told Fred Katz they're not deeming Robinson untouchable per se, but they also made it clear holding onto him is a priority. And shout out to the good guys over at Knicks Film School. Fred Katz did a Q&A session with them, and one player that he brought up, and I know it's not him reporting, but he did bring up like a Miles Turner and Mitchell Robinson trade. Maybe that's something along the lines that the Knicks would look into. So I don't know if the Knicks would want to give up a young player, Mitchell Robinson, who still has room to develop, rather than keep him and you just you don't even look at Brook Lopez because he's going to want to start. And if they're protective of Mitch, does it make sense to go get an older center for a rental when you could keep him, who you just re-signed last season, for the long term? I don't know, Tommy, what do you think about that whole situation?
Yeah, no, I think the Brook Lopez scenario. Obviously, you know, the most the Knicks can offer via any free agent is the non-taxpayer mid-level, about 12.4 million. We know that Lopez is looking for 20, 30 million a year, and he deserves it. One of the elite two-way centers in the NBA. Listen, if you can get your hands on Brook Lopez, certainly, the Knicks should explore every opportunity. But I just don't think it's a feasible scenario in which the Bucks would be willing to talk, sign, and trade. Because that's what would be involved. Unless Brook Lopez decided, surprisingly, that the only place he wanted to play is New York, and we haven't heard anything about it. So, I think the only options are for Brook Lopez if the Houston wanted to throw a lot of money at him. But like I said, I expect him to come back and re-sign with the Bucks.
I agree with that. And like in a sign and trade, I don't know if the sign and trade, if it was like a free agency, like outright pay, like I'm interested in Brook Lopez because he would stretch the floor if you're asking to get more creation, more of an open court for RJ, Randall, and Brunson to operate. Absolutely. You still don't lose anything defensively. I totally understand that.
Yeah, he's the perfect big man to play alongside Randall. Randall could operate in the post and down low, and Brook Lopez could sit down the corner, which would create a ton of space in the middle of the floor for Randall, and for obviously Jalen Brunson drives and RJ Barrett as well.
For sure. Now earlier in the day, according to, I'm trying to pull up the Twitter account right here, according to Barry Jackson, he's been covering the Miami Heat for some time. Apparently there's some interest. What was it? I think there's some interest in Toronto potentially want to go. I don't know if what he reports that he reported that Gabe Vincent is looking less likely to return unless the Heat raise their offer. Apparently they didn't make a good enough offer. But then I think I did see something today where Toronto could be a potential area for Gabe Vincent to go sign if I'm expecting if they lose Fred VanVleet to be that starting point guard.
Yeah, those are the type of guys that the Raptors would pivot and make no mistake, Masai Ujiri has planned this thing out. Whereas if Fred VanVleet deal goes sideways, and again, what the Raptors can pitch is an extra fourth year, an extra year in his contract that teams like the Rockets, when you re-sign your own free agent, other teams cannot. So, make no mistake, there's a short list of guys. Although we just saw Woj reported Trey Jones, another point guard's off the market. He signed a 2-year, $20 million contract with the Spurs. It'll be fascinating to see kind of how San Antonio handles that, fleshing their roster out around Mr. Wembanyama over his first couple of years in the league, but Trey Jones, a good, reliable, high assist to turnover ratio point guard. So we'll see how that plays out.
Repeat that again. Who's with the Spurs?
Trey Jones.
Oh, Trey Jones. Trey Jones. You're signing.
$20 million deal with San Antonio.
Yeah, I like Trey Jones. I think he's a good, stable point guard. Just kind of like his brother. Low turnover guy, can run your offense. It's a young team they got out there, so there's no need for them to really go all in. Wemby. What are your thoughts about Wembanyama, Tommy?
Yeah, fascinated. Love that he's going to play in the summer league. I was just looking at it today. Their schedule. He's playing Brandon Miller the first game. Then they're going to go up against Scoot Henderson in Portland in game 2. One, I think LeBron is the better prospect, in terms of greatest prospect of all time in any professional sports. Mm-hmm. The thing with Wembanyama that worries me is that, his injury history. There's never been a guy that's been 7'4" or taller that's been able to endure a 10-year, 15-year NBA career without sustaining significant, career-altering injuries. I hope Wembanyama is the exception to that rule. He plays on the perimeter. He's not going to be banging as much as some of these other guys, but Kristaps Porzingis was similar in that respect, and we know that the injury history he's dealt with. Listen, I think it's important, even though expectations are sky high. There was the quote by Broussard, whereas if he has a career like Hakeem Olajuwon, that'll be a failure. Like if the guy's one of the 15 greatest players in the history of the sport, that's a good thing. If he's a 5 or 8-time All-Star. That's awesome. You know, like you can't put these outsized expectations on guys and expect them to succeed. Yeah, as we know, LeBron's the exception to the rule that he actually exceeded those expectations. But yeah, I can't wait to watch him play. Anytime we can get a guy like that in the NBA is a cool thing.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see how his game translates to the NBA. Did a good amount of draft coverage for both KnicksFanTV and the NBA Report. It's just fascinating, man. Being 7'5", being able to attack the rim like that. That's something I haven't really seen like that. Although people like to keep tweeting out bowl.
Right. This kid, like if everything hits, like he has a skill set with which we are not familiar. Like this, shoot the three, and it's not just, he can make some threes, and regardless of his percentages, his mechanics on his shot are really solid. He plays smart, plays, the fact that he didn't miss a game in France this season one, it could have easily sat out and still been the number 1 pick. Every interview I've seen with him, kid seems to have a really good head on his shoulders, approaches things the right way, seems centered and humbled, and mature beyond his years. There's so much that goes into it. To be a LeBron James type guy. I mean, it's unfathomable to think that an 18-year-old LeBron James was handed $100 million shoe contract before he played a game in the NBA, then made another $200 million in the NBA, and here we are 20 years later. He's avoided this any type of controversy, off the court. Married his high school sweetheart, is a role model for so many. You talk about it. There's just so many ways to get tripped up on these things. So let's hope that the good thing about Wembanyama is that he's going to an organization that knows how to handle superstar number 1 overall picks. With Pop there and that infrastructure in place in San Antonio, it's a wonderful landing spot if you're a fan of the NBA and want this kid to succeed.
Absolutely. Salute to Knicks Fan TV Nation. Salute to the NBA Report Nation. You are tuning in to the NBA Free Agency show. It's me, Alex Chateris, and not with me on the other side is Tommy Beer. As we're waiting for CP to return, but we're taking all calls covering the NBA Free Agency as things start rolling in. Got something in right now, Tommy. According to Barry Jackson, same guy who's reported that it seems like the Miami Heat need to up the ante in order to retain Gabe Vincent. He's saying that Max Strus is looking like there's going to be a sign and trade between the Miami Heat, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and there's an unidentified third team coming in to help get some modest assets, I guess, for the Miami Heat is what he's talking about. But it looks like Strus is going to head over to Cleveland. I think that's a good move for Cleveland. They need some extra shooting. They need someone off the bench. I like that move for them. What do you think about Max Strus potentially landing in Cleveland?
Yeah, I like from a Knicks perspective, you like to see the Heat lose some of their talented core. Him going to Cleveland, improving the Cavaliers is obviously not ideal in that respect. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see kind of how the Heat pivot here without cap space and with some of their, you mentioned Vincent. They don't have cap space to really do much else in terms of adding free agents that they might lose. So the sign and trade route makes a lot of sense. We'll see what Cleveland sends back. Same thing with Vincent. If they know he's going to leave, do they agree to a sign and trade and kind of figure things out on that respect? But yeah, there's just not a ton of really top tier free agents this year, especially with guys off the board. You got VanVleet. In terms of shooting guards, Austin Reeves is still out there, Malik Beasley and Divincenzo, obviously. Small forwards, Dillon Brooks, is he the best small forward, out there right now? Jay Crowder. Power forwards, Grant Williams, Hachimura, PJ Washington, all those guys are restricted. Brook Lopez, Christian Wood at center. There's just not that many big names, especially with the Draymonds and Kyries and Harden opting in. There's not as many big names, as we've seen in years past. So it could be by the end of today, assuming VanVleet signs and Lopez goes back to Milwaukee, that there's no real all-star caliber player available after the first 3 or 4 hours of free agency, which is rare because the Durant year wasn't until like 3 or 4 days after until KD eventually agreed to go to Brooklyn. That was quick, but the previous year, July 4th with LeBron, etc. So we'll see how it plays out.
I think it's just the new way of the NBA. Players want to make sure that they can secure their bag, and what we see is that you can secure your bag and then force your way out of a situation if it's not working out for you. And even for a team, even though they ultimately pay them, for them it kind of works out because you get some capital instead of just losing somebody in free agency. So it's just a new way to really gauge the market. I mean, this is, as you said, this is not really a star-studded class, although you do have James Harden who's looking to work out a sign and trade, right? You have Kyrie who just re-signed with Dallas Mavericks. I think this is just the new NBA. Curious to see how the salary cap impacts all of this, though, considering that, you can lose draft assets or flexibility, not necessarily draft assets, but the flexibility to trade a draft asset. So I wonder how this is going to change free agency moving forward. It's just an interesting time, man. It's just an interesting time to be watching what goes on in the NBA world. How do you feel about the whole rumors of Dillon Brooks potentially ending up in Houston, though? Because that was something that was like Fred VanVleet, Dillon Brooks. Do you think Dillon Brooks is the guy that should be going over to Houston after what we saw over in Memphis?
Yeah, I think somebody's probably going to be able to buy low on Dillon Brooks because of his antics. I personally wouldn't want him on my team and have to root for him. A bit of a knucklehead, but listen, he's a talented two-way player. There aren't a lot of two guards, wings in the NBA that can score 15 plus, 17 plus points a night and guard the other team's best player. He's not the best perimeter defender in the NBA, but when he keeps his mouth shut, he can be an effective asset on both ends of the floor. There's not many guys like that around, so his market's depreciated a little bit after not only talking a lot during the Lakers series, but then ducking the media and kind of going silent after having a lot to say during games, after games, etc. So, we'll see if, some team will probably be the beneficiary, of Dillon Brooks costing himself some money. So, it'll be interesting to see. And the other thing to note, just, we've talked about Houston making a run at VanVleet. And as well as the Wizards signing Kyle Kuzma, are there any teams that are trying to lose games next year? It doesn't really seem that way. We're coming off a year in which the Rockets and the Spurs and there's just we assume the Jazz would, even though they kind of went in a little bit more. There were the Pistons basically were in tank mode. We're not going to have that. The Pistons just traded for Joe Harris. The Wizards signed Kyle Kuzma. Rockets are trying to sign VanVleet. There's not that same rush to the bottom. Part of it is because that there's no Wembanyama prize. The 2024 draft is, has some decent prospects, and some guys will obviously raise their stock over the next 12 months or so. But there's no franchise changer, quality of an 18-year-old LeBron James or Wembanyama, Tim Duncan type talent out there. And the play-in tournament, I think, has been a success for the NBA in a lot of respects. It gives teams that are kind of on the periphery, of that outside potentially looking in, like, hey, let's try to win some games. The Heat were a playing team, made it to the NBA Finals. The Lakers were a playing team; they made it to the Western Conference Finals. So let's just get to the dance, and anything can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're a team like the Heat, or if you're a team like the Lakers, right? The Lakers completely reshaped their team, and then were able to, what seemed like a losing season, and they weren't even going to make the play-in at all. Then became, as you said, Western Conference team. Even though they got swept, they were still competitive. Those Nuggets Lakers games were very competitive. I agree with you. I think the play-in tournament has been a great success. And if you're Adam Silver, especially after this season, have the Miami Heat go to the finals, Lakers go to the Western Conference. I don't know how anything doesn't encourage other teams to say, hey, maybe we can do this and try to be a little bit more savvy around the trade deadline and try to add pieces, shake it all up, and then try to make a run. It's fun. It's fun seeing that kind of halfway through the season. It's a new story, right? A new story to be told. I don't know if we really dive deep into the Divincenzo signing, Tommy, but what are your thoughts if the Knicks are able to go get Dante Divincenzo?
Yeah, listen, I like the player. Tenacious at both ends of the court, plays with spirit, plays with energy, moves the ball. Obviously, it shot above his career percentage from the three-point line, shot above 39% from the arc. I will just note that a couple concerns. And I like the fact, obviously, that he's, has the relationship with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson. So if those guys vouch for you, I think that says a lot about your competitiveness, your unselfishness, your basketball IQ, etc. I will say, however, a couple reasons to be concerned. There was a reason Dante Divincenzo had to settle for $5 million contract from the Warriors last year. And the reason he basically got squeezed on the free agent market was he was coming off a poor season, shot below 35% from the floor, during the year, playing for Milwaukee, didn't live up to expectations as a mid-first round pick. And then with the Kings, they traded for him, assuming that they would re-sign him. They let him walk. So, there are reasons for concern there. Maybe that was partly due to the injury. It didn't seem like he was ever fully healthy at the start of the season after that serious injury that kept him out of the finals the year prior, Milwaukee. So we'll see, that kind of how that plays itself out. But the bigger issue, kind of the big picture, and you guys talked about a little bit earlier on the show, is I think 11, and I've also heard, I'm not sure if this has been reported elsewhere, but I've heard that the Knicks are confident that they can get closer to that $10 million range, a contract in that $10 million area, as opposed to the full 12.4 mid-level exception. So I'm not opposed to a contract for Divincenzo, 10, 11, $12 million a year. My question is, where did the minutes come from? This is Tibbs obviously prefers a 9-man rotation. And there you go. Shams tweets, Gabe Vincent has agreed to a 3-year, $33 million contract with the Lakers. Interesting.
Gabe Vincent to the Los Angeles Lakers.
So the Lakers get their point guard. Now what do they do with D'Angelo Russell? I like Vincent. I don't know if I like him 3 years, $33 million. But for LeBron, he's a guy that can shoot threes. Not afraid to get after it defensively, help spread the floor. You don't necessarily need a point guard that's going to control the ball a lot when you have LeBron, who's the de facto point guard. So I like the fit. I think that the Lakers are a team that makes sense for him. And I think the Lakers get a good floor spreader to benefit LeBron. I don't know about the money, maybe that last year's a team option, but yeah, as far as Divincenzo is concerned, again, Tibbs wants to go with a 9-man rotation. If everybody comes back, IQ, Grimes, Barrett, I just don't know where that minutes come from. Even if they trade Obi, maybe Hart, can play some minutes at the 4. That'll clear up some minutes on the wing. But I don't see the Knicks handing out a $40 million contract to a player that's going to play 9 minutes a game off the bench. And I don't see Divincenzo, who's going to have other options in the neighborhood of 10, 12, the mid-level exception, accepting a deal to come to a team where there's not a clear path to playing time. So if and when the Knicks do announce, the Knicks get Divincenzo on their roster, is that a precursor to another move would be my question.
I think it would be. I think it would be a precursor to another move if they got Divincenzo. I think it might be quickly. I don't know if it was necessarily Grimes, because we hear how much Tibbs loves Grimes. Not saying they doesn't love quickly either, but quickly has made it clear, especially when he was on that slam for that slam interview, that he does see himself as a starter. And we have Jalen Brunson here. Unless Tibbs thinks that he can be a starting 2 guard, I think quickly is going to look to want to play somewhere else if he does want to get that starting opportunity. So I feel like this is just adding more assets in the adventure of saying we are going to do something down the road. So I agree with you there, Tommy. But getting back to this whole Gabe Vincent thing, because we do have the NBA report where we got to cover this thing league wide. Gabe Vincent to the Lakers. I want to talk about this because is this his new Mario Chalmers? The guy who doesn't need to carry the rock that much and can just shoot whenever it needs to be called upon? Is that who Gabe Vincent is now for this Los Angeles Lakers team?
Yeah, I think that's kind of there. I think the Mario Chalmers comparison is absolutely on point. Again, when you have LeBron, he's a guy that's going to facilitate the offense. He's the guy that's going to have the ball in his hands, crossing half court plenty of time. Even in half court sets, he's going to get the ball at the top of the key and kind of make decisions from there. Gabe Vincent can play off the ball. He can defend. He's not afraid of he has playoff experience. He's kind of one of those gritty, grimy, obviously not a flashy name, undrafted, whereas D'Angelo Russell was a former number 2 overall pick. But yeah, that's the question I had when I first saw that pop up. What do the Lakers do with D'Angelo Russell now? Do they look to trade him? Do they sign and trade? Something along those lines. It'll be very interesting to see how LA handles that situation.
Yeah, because you could use Gabe Vincent as a starter in here and for the Los Angeles Lakers. But I also wonder what does that mean for Dennis Schroeder, because he came back to the Lakers too. So how does he fit into that whole thing, that whole system? So that's another question I have. Looks like we got CP back. So if we can get CP back on the camera so he can help break this down as well. CP, welcome back to the show, man.
Salute, man. I like this pickup for the Lakers. Big pickup for Vincent. He showed in this Heat run and during the playoffs, he's a scrapper, can be a three-point gun. He can get hot quickly. He can play on ball, play off ball, has shown some playmaking capabilities. Obviously he's not going to be starter level in that regard in terms of just being a floor general for them, but capable. Certainly capable, and I like him a lot better than D'Angelo Russell. I'll tell you that much. If I'm the Lakers, you got to move far and away from D'Lo, man, because I just don't look at that guy as a winning player. We've seen enough of a sample size throughout his career that he's just not going to get it done for you. He's not consistent enough on either side of the ball to really help you win games. So I like this pickup. Gabe Vincent went from undrafted to 33 million bags, man. So good job by the Lakers. Good job by Gabe Vincent, man. Good pickup.
Get your money, young man.
Get your money. Jake Fisher also reporting that the Lakers are interested in one Eric Gordon with the 12.5 mid-level exemption. Man, Eric Gordon continuing. And we talk about guys with career earnings. Eric Gordon continuing to get potential bags there, man. So we'll see what happens with the Lakers. But I spoke about this on the NBA report, and that the Lakers deciding not to, because Pelinka was introducing their rookies this week with the media, and he says that, look, they're just going to retool. They're going to add on to their young core. They're not looking for a big splash, aka no Kyrie Irvings. And I thought the revelations that were Austin Reeves in his second year and Rui gave them a little glimmer to say, look, we're not going to jettison these guys or mortgage the future even more to widen this championship window. We're going to do what we can. If we make it, we don't. But after LeBron and AD are gone, at least we have some young players that we can move forward with Reeves, who you'd expect the Lakers to sign. With Hachimura, you'd expect them to sign. You bring in a Vincent. You got Hood Schifino in the draft, and I forget the other guy that they drafted. But, had those guys not emerged, especially in the playoffs and helping them get to the Western Conference Finals, let's say they still kept Westbrook, the Lakers may have been singing a different tune, man. Maybe they changed their approach.
Yeah, I like what the Lakers are doing. Remember, they went 18-6 post deadline. One of the better teams in the NBA. Again, and that's a good reminder as we get ready for this free agent season and as teams round out their roster. Sometimes the big name guy isn't the best guy to complement, especially when you have a LeBron and AD and kind of that cast of characters. Sometimes it's the Gabe Vincent, the guy that's content in his role, that's willing to be a superstar in his role, which he's shown, he's proven to be, and obviously fighting his way from undrafted status, the G League player, to Eastern Conference champion. Those are the type of guys that that you can rely on. If I'm the Lakers, I'd rather have Gabe Vincent at 3 for 33 than, even if I had the money to sign Kyrie Irving. I think it's just a better allocation of your resources.
Getting a tweet right now from @Knicks and Cowboys. He said, "Look out." He said to you and I, Tommy, look out for Malik Beasley if the Knicks do not get Dante Divincenzo. How would you guys feel about that? If the Knicks did go in a Malik Beasley route,
you want to take it first, CP?
Yeah, a little bit less optimistic, to be honest. I've liked Beasley. I've liked his game. But if I'm going to add more clutter to my guard rotation, and I have an opportunity at a Divincenzo who's a stat sheet guy, so he can get your points, he can get your threes, your boards, offensive rebounds. You're one of the best offensive rebounders in the league, and as well as a playmaker. I'd rather go there. So if you tell me that, we lose that opportunity, sure, but Beasley's like, he's almost a last resort for me right now than a Divincenzo.
I'll answer as well, CB. I just was curious. I hadn't heard your take on Divincenzo. Are you excited about it? Sounds like, I don't want to say it's a foregone conclusion. Certainly not, but it sounds like, all the tea leaves are reading that direction. Your thoughts, are you very excited, sort of happy? And if they get him, do you think, where the minute's going to come from? And
Right.
do you see that as something, as another move down the road?
Yeah, I'm neutral on it. I think he's a talent that can help. He's a winner. He's come from winning programs from Villanova straight through in his NBA career. Obviously, the chemistry with Hart and Brunson is off the charts. So he's going to come in and be able to fit in right away. Where the minute's going to come from is the $1 million question. We'll have to wait and see how the entire offseason goes for the Knicks, what roster moves they make, who goes in a trade. But I think a lot of us expect Obi to be part of a trade somewhere. And so we'll have to see how the roster shakes out when he comes here. But I still think the biggest hole that they still haven't addressed in years is a big wing, a big 3-and-D wing. Divincenzo can help. As I said, a score off. He can score off the bench, 40% from 3 this year with the Dubs. He can get boards. He can play make. But, we still have that hole in 3D wing. But where I see this pickup, I see it more as a future move than a now move, because it allows the Knicks more roster flexibility if they have to go out and make a big trade. Now you're not saying, well, man, we're going to gut half our roster, we'll have nothing left. At least you add to your depth so that if you have to pair off, let's say you have to trade Quick, or you have to trade RJ, or you have to trade Grimes, which I may not want to do, you can still be left with something by adding to that depth. So that's where I see the Divincenzo pickup, how I see it.
Yeah, no, I think we're on the same page. Again, there's a lot of pros there. Unselfish, helps facilitate the offense, can score. I love the fact that, that kind of build that camaraderie and again, as I was telling Alex when you stepped out for a second, like if Brunson and Hart vouch for you, like that tells me that you approach the game the right way, prepare yourself, etc. Come from a winning program, playing for Jay Wright of Villanova. My concerns, yes, he shot 40% from 3-point territory last season, but he shot 34, just under 35% the first 3 seasons of his career. So which is the more accurate number? The 3 years without Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, or the year when you get practice threes playing alongside the best shooters in the history of the sport? So that's my concern there. Are we overvaluing his efficiency? Playing, key minutes for a Warriors team that dealt with some injuries and that he got an opportunity to play. Credit to him for making the most of it. My concern would be, the devil's advocate would be, are we overvaluing one good season? And and to your point, I don't see him agreeing to step into a situation where he's going to see 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 8 minutes, 16 minutes off the bench any given night. With Tibbs, we know his preference for playing a 9-man rotation, unless the Knicks are signing Divincenzo because they have another trade lined up to ship out another rotation player. Whether that's IQ, I think is the only reasonable. Even though I don't like to see IQ, be traded. I wouldn't like to see Grimes be traded. If I had to pick between those guys, I'd rather IQ. I'd rather Grimes. Maybe the feeling is, IQ has told him, I'm not signing for a penny less than 110 million, 100 million, whatever the case might be. And the Knicks feel that that's too rich for their blood. They're going to try to trade IQ while his value is still relatively high if they don't feel comfortable signing that extension. Again, I don't see the path to minutes that would make sense for either party, because Divincenzo, it's not like the Knicks are his only option. He can sign the mid-level for, you would think, a handful of other teams, even though that the musical chairs are starting to go around and some chairs are getting picked up. But we'll see how it plays out.
True indeed, man. Al, were you going to chip in on Divincenzo, or you want me to?
Yeah,
okay, go
I'm
ahead.
just going to say the same thing I said earlier, is that to Tommy's point, like, are you concerned about the one good stint in Warriors? I'm like, I would say kudos to him for understanding a Steve Kerr offense and being able to play up the speed, because it seems like Wiseman, Moody, Kuminga, they've all struggled to do that. So for 1 year to do that, that talks about his basketball IQ, which is great for Divincenzo. I just wonder how he's going to fit on the Knicks, right? You talk about minutes, but it's just play style, because I think what people see out in Golden State is like, oh, look at this passing they find. He found this guy cutting baseline to go get an easy bucket. We didn't really have guys who could do that outside, like Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, guys who really were moving off ball. Like the Warriors have so much off ball movement that you could say you get to maximize Divincenzo's talents. Where if he comes to the Knicks, are we going to maximize his talents? That's my concern, because then you start looking at the coaching change, right? Then you're like, all right, why was he able to do that over there and not if he's not able to do that here? These are questions you start looking at the coach, and that's where I would have a little bit of hesitancy. Not necessarily the player himself. I think he's a good player, but sometimes it just comes to the player and the system that he goes into, whether or not it's a good match, right? So that's where my concern would come forward.
True indeed, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. CP Alex, Tommy Beer in the building, the NBA free agency show. We are going to take some phone calls in just a bit, but Daniel, if you can just hit my solo screen for a second, solo cam, so I can introduce our sponsor for tonight, and that is Manscaped, fellas. If you hadn't heard already, it is smooth sack summer. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're scaped from pubes to bum. That's right. This is the summer to keep your balls cool while looking hot with Manscaped, the leaders in below the waist grooming. And make sure we all have the ball this summer by giving our pants partners everything they need to stay fresh, man. That's what that Lawnmower 4.0. They also have a ton of great products for today's man. So make sure you dive in head first into smooth sack summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping using promo code KFTV. Shout out to our guys at Manscaped, man. Just got to pay the bills, Tommy. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to our guys at Manscaped. All right. To the phones we go. Area code 240. What's your name? Where are you calling in from? Hello. Oh, man. We got static. He's watching on YouTube. Okay, he's not ready. 732, area code 732. What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
You know who this is.
Let's go. Dan from New Jersey. How we feeling, man?
All right, man. Real quick. Everybody. When you say his name, make sure you get all the syllables right. This ain't Frank Ntilikina with Steph Curry. Oh no, that's not what this is, y'all. Make sure y'all say his name right. That kid is going to make history one day. Wembanyama. I've been speaking about him for a year. Some people out there still don't got the syllables right. But aside from that, listen, man, the Knicks are going to stand pat, man. They're going to strike out in free agency. I'm calling it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Listen, I like Dante Divincenzo. I actually really, really like him for the kind of role that he provides. I think he's a solid shooter. I think he can hold his own defensively, and I think he's a great team player overall. But the truth of the matter is, man, if the Knicks are looking to bring in a Dante Divincenzo who last year was averaging a little bit over 25 minutes per game, and you got Quickly, that takes up a similar niche. You got Grimes, that takes up a similar niche. The Knicks aren't going to cut down Grimes' minutes. That's going to leave a hole, man. So if anything, I'm looking at that acquisition and I'm thinking, are you looking for some kind of midseason trade? Are we cooking something? So if the Knicks do pick up Dante Divincenzo, which I'm not really sure they will, I'm anticipating some kind of midseason trade involving either him, Quickly, or Grimes, because one of those guys is going to have to get dealt. There's no way that rotation is going to work, and there's no way everybody's going to be content with their minutes. It's just impossible. But let me tell you why I don't think that the best move that the Knicks can do is in free agency or even right now in the trade market. Leon Rose, I know you sleeping, so you're not listening to me right now. But I'm going to say something that needs to be said. If the New York Knicks want to be 10 games better than they were last season, they aren't supposed to be looking for Bruce Brown to provide that. They need an offensive specialist. They need an offensive coordinator.
Okay.
They need a guy. Listen to me, man. If we got Tibbs here because of his defense, and in the beginning of the year, we're giving up more three-pointers than every team in the league. Quite literally. Taurean Prince is having career nights against him.
8 for 8, yeah.
Ricky Rubio, 8 for 8 as well. CP, you remember that?
Yeah.
That's because Tibbs' defensive scheme prioritizes protecting the paint, but comes at the expense of having to run every single guy off the three-point line.
Okay. Well, appreciate the call, man. Appreciate the call. We got a lot of calls, man. So we're just gonna keep it pushing. Look, the offense needs a look for sure. The offense needs a look. They don't prioritize a lot of passing. There's not a lot of off-ball movement. 3-point percentage took a dip. Effective field goal percentages. It's one thing, man. You're not going to go too far in the playoffs if you're not shooting the ball efficiently. If you look at the Denver Nuggets, you look at the Miami Heat, two of the things that they led, especially in the playoffs, were in passing and shooting and percentages at the rim. You got to be efficient at the rim, man. You look at the Nuggets system and how they run. And that's why in some games, even in the finals against the Heat, they didn't even have to shoot the three ball that well, because when Jokic is feeding those cutters and they're just getting wide open looks in the lane, and Bruce Brown benefited from that. A lot of those guys were just able to just lay the ball in, man. So Knicks are going to have to look at something. We'll just have to see
90
what
seconds.
We'll have to see who Tibbs can bring in and how they can work together, if possible. I don't know, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Let's go through some more deals. Yuta Watanabe, a player a lot of Knicks fans liked, man. A nice rapper at the wing, shot 44% from three, is reuniting with Kevin Durant in Phoenix. He's going from Brooklyn to Phoenix. This was a move a lot of people expected, actually. I guess, I don't know if they have a relationship, if they're friends or something like that, but that's a big pickup. Good pickup by the Phoenix Suns. Watanabe seemed like he had found his groove with the Brooklyn Nets. Do you expect him to shoot 44% from three consistently? Probably not. He probably comes back to the mean, but playing off of those guys, he's going to get wide open looks. So good pickup by the Phoenix Suns and getting somebody off the scrap heap. Yeah, that is. What do you guys think about the Watanabe pickup there?
Love this signing for the Suns. It's a guy that shot really well from the floor last season. Not only from downtown, but from the field. Where's the number? I was looking at the other day. 279 3-pointers, attempted more than 100 threes last year. Watanabe was one of only two to shoot above 49% from field and above 44% from downtown. Luke Kennard was the other. Yes, a little bit of an extreme. He wasn't as high volume as some of those other guys, but I love the Knicks. The Suns obviously don't have a lot of cap space, so they got him at essentially a veterans minimum level contract. And not only does he shoot a high percentage and did so last year, plays with effort. He plays with an infectious energy on the defensive end. Just a really ideal fit. The Suns were hoping, when you commit all that money, $150 million annually to your three best players, you got to hope to sign some other guys kind of on the periphery and on the fringes. And I think Watanabe's one of those guys that you can sign for a minimum level contract, and he can exceed that, that price point by 2x, 3x, something along those lines, even if it's for 1 year to build his value up, get an opportunity to play some minutes, and then hit the market again next summer. So it could be a win-win for both sides. But it's one of my favorite non-big name free agent signings thus far. He was one of the guys that I thought the Knicks should definitely take a long, hard look at. But kudos to Phoenix for the scoop.
They add depth to the front court. Good shooter, as Tommy already talked about. I think it's a solid signing, man. For the Phoenix Suns, look, you're going all in with that core four, so might as well try to get players that you think have some high upside on a good value. And I think that in Watanabe, that's just good for them, just because they're going to be in cap hell after everything's said and done. So to get someone like him on a good value contract with some upside, especially from three, it just helps base the floor for guys like KD, Booker, Ayton, even Beal. So it'll be interesting how they mix and match and utilize him in different rotations, but it's a good signing for the Phoenix Suns.
Absolutely, man. Shout out to the Rhyme Animal, Chuck D, with a $5 super chat, man. Everybody throw hashtag PE in the chat. He says, what we need and what Tibbs wants is a crucial crossroad this next season. Yeah. Well, in a guy like a Divincenzo, I think he's a guy that can fit Tibbs' style of play, where you bring in a Hart who kind of fits that mold. You look at a Brunson who kind of fits that mold, man. In Hart and Divincenzo, you got two-way dogs. In Brunson, you have an absolute killer on the offensive end. So looking forward to seeing those three guys. Well, if Divincenzo is signed, we're looking forward to seeing how those guys are able to coexist. And like we said, what roster moves will come if those guys are reunited with the Knicks. Shake Milton going to the Timberwolves. 2-year deal for Milton. 2-year, $10 million. All right, so there you go. Timberwolves signing Shake Milton, already read up Naz Reid, and they'll look to go forward. Haven't seen anything official on Max Strus yet, but the Heat, again, at risk of losing some of their key contributors. Gabe Vincent going to L.A., and there were rumors that Strus is going to the Cavs, but we'll see what gets confirmed by either Woj or Shams.
Yeah, CP, we discussed that while you were out for a bit. It seems like there might be a 3-team trade, according to someone who covers the Miami Heat, between the Cavs, the Heat, and we don't know the other team yet, but it seems like there's going to be a sign and trade to get Max Strus to go over to Cleveland.
Okay, so Cleveland trying to get Strus, Niang, and LeVert to bolster the bench.
Joe Ingles
to the Magic.
Yep, for $22 million.
22 million. Wow.
It's expensive locker room vet.
Yeah, talk about getting the bag. Well, that's what we said, man. Between
this salary cap means nothing. This CBA means nothing.
Well, between the Magic, the Rockets, the Pacers, who's the other team? Detroit. Look, Detroit gave Alec Burks $10 million.
Yep.
So you got to spend that money somewhere, man. If you're not going to get your big ticket guy, you got to spend it somewhere.
Yeah, another point about the new CBA that kind of doesn't get discussed much. The teams have to meet the salary floor now, as opposed to years past. It was kind of a slap on the wrist. You wouldn't get fed the other teams that exceeded the tax threshold. You wouldn't get fed some of that excess money. But there's more draconian measures for teams that skirt that floor. So that's one of the reasons why there was some talk that maybe the Knicks trade Fournier to the Spurs, because the Spurs have to meet the floor. So maybe bring in a mentor for
Wembanyama.
Make sure you pronounce it right, or that.
Make sure you pronounce the name as Tad from New Jersey says. Wembanyama. Yeah, man. We'll be at Summer League next week or the week after that. Hopefully, Wembanyama versus Brandon Miller will be as advertised. You got Wembanyama versus Scoot Henderson. We'll see if he plays in Game 2. So Vegas should be rocking, man. Looking forward to being out there at Summer League and checking those guys out.
CP, okay. Is that a tear I see in your eye for Alec Burks? Re-signing for the Detroit Pistons?
My guy went out there. He shot 40% from 3. He's cooking. He could have came back here with less pressure. He didn't have to be the floor general anymore. And Joe Weaver knew what he was doing, man. He took care of him. Man. Yeah. Took care. I was thinking vet minimum. Troy Weaver said, "No, 10 million. There it is." So, with Joe Harris, they have Burks. They still have Bogdanovich. Hey, with Detroit, with a lot of these teams, you look at Detroit, you look at what the Rockets are trying to do. Indiana, seems like a lot of these teams they're no longer just settling for just having a bunch of young guys on the roster. Especially the Rockets. Rockets are trying to turn the corner now, use some of that money on some vets, bring some adults in the room, and see if that can translate into some wins. You kind of fortify your young guys with some vets. Detroit going out there and trading for Joe Harris. See how that works out for them. Okay. Who else we got in here? Let's go to the phones. Area code 469. 469. What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
What's up?
Yep. What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
I'm in Dallas. This is Mike. Mike White.
Michael White. What's going on?
Well, I'm confused.
Oh, man.
I don't know where. I don't know how we were interested in Harden all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But I think we must be getting ready to trade IQ because, there's no other reason that we want to bring in that other guy. I mean, it's just no room. So, I'm glad to see Mr. Beer there.
Yep.
He's somebody that I follow.
Okay.
But I just hope that they go ahead and trade Obi and get Obi out of here, get him out of this mess, or don't bring him back and make him sit on the bench for another year.
Okay. Appreciate the call, man. Good to hear from you, Michael White, franchise channel member. And look, I think the Harden stuff is just either leverage or smoke, or maybe they engage in a 3-team deal. It just makes no sense for the Knicks to go out there and get him. I don't think he addresses their needs. I mean, obviously, he's still a talent, although he's a talent on the decline. But I don't think the Knicks need that. They don't need that. They do not need that. But, from a Philadelphia standpoint, I thought the Harden-Morey chess match was very interesting because on one hand, you kind of applaud the Sixers for kind of standing firm and saying, do we really want to keep this guy for more than 2 years? That's not necessarily a worthwhile investment. But on the flip side, you're losing that production while your championship window is open. So this makes Morey's job a lot tougher because now he has to figure out, how do you replace that? You can't just send him to the Clippers for Norman Powell and a package of role players and expect to sell that to your 30-year-old MVP. You've got to now go out there and try to get another star to go alongside Embiid and even Maxey to maintain your top 3 edge in the East. So, and Tommy, let me know what you think about that, man, because I think Morey's got his work cut out for him.
Well, that's where you go for a Bones Highland, right?
Bones and Maxey backcourt. There you go, man.
Yeah, I think the Maxey, the assumption that and the news today that Maxey, they weren't going to sign Maxey to an extension. My guess there is, and I haven't dug into the numbers, that the reason to wait is because they're going to have plenty of cap space next summer. So you used all that cap space, then you re-sign Maxey to a huge deal, and they've let him know that this is by no means a reflection on how we feel about you as an organization, blah, blah, blah. But the way the cap works is you sign those other guys, other free agents, because the one of the selling points to Embiid now would be once the rumors that Harden wasn't going to sign a contract extension was, I'm sure Morey told them, listen, let's bring Harden back here for one more year. We'll kind of figure things out, and then we'll have a ton of cap space to work with. Then Tobias Harris comes off the books. They get some other contracts off the books, and then we'll have 40-50 million to spend. We can bring in another max level free agent of your choice, sign him to a contract, then sign Max to do an extension, and that'll kind of be our core 3, and then we can round out the edges, the PJ Tucker type dudes. So we'll see how it plays out, but make no mistake, same thing we talked about, the Knicks are going to keep an eye on Giannis. We know the relationship between Embiid and Leon Rose. That's not lost on the Knicks front office, that unsettled nature of the Philadelphia situation. Should Philadelphia lose in the first round? Should they lose again in the second round, not advance as far as they want? Would anybody be surprised if Joel Embiid's the next player to kind of demand the trade? I certainly wouldn't be. So for that reason, the Knicks are at least have to contemplate keeping their powder dry. Again, unless the right deal comes along. Which, on top of all the other stuff we've talked about, the reasons not to pursue Harden is you would think it would decrease even marginally the chance that you have a chance at Joel Embiid by bringing in James Harden, by giving up assets to get James Harden, when obviously he'd be leaving Joel Embiid. So I don't see any way that would the Sixers want to trade him in the division, in the conference. Just so many reasons not to believe it. But I will say, not only did Woj tweet it, Windhorst today mentioned that, don't count out the Knicks. They're going to at least kick the tires. That's the kind of stuff that's got to make you nervous.
Don't do it. Please, for the love of God, do not go get James Harden. Please. No one needs it. We don't need that. We don't need none of that.
Knicks fans don't agree on anything, and yet everyone agrees, essentially that James Harden would be a mistake.
Just like, why? The fit would just be, it's just nasty. I think we were like we were like 30% of the offense last season for the Knicks was isolation. I think it's going to jump up to 40, maybe 50 if you have James Harden on this team.
99.
You get tired. If you like people standing around on the perimeter not moving, James Harden is your guy.
Yep.
All right, let's see who else we got on the phones here. Area code 610. What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
Hello.
Hello. What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
Yeah. How you doing? Ken from Pennsylvania.
Ken, how you feeling, man?
Good, man. Glad you guys let me on. Talking about Obi a little bit. He only has to blame himself. The guy is a power forward. He has no moves down low, and he stands in the corner and he shoots. And then if he starts to dribble the ball, he dribbles it above the 3-point line and passes it. The guy, and it's 3 full years. I've been waiting. I was hoping for the guy to come on, and he never did. Unbelievable. What do you think?
Let me take this one, CP.
Yeah, good.
Obi Toppin led the country in dunks his junior year at Dayton when he was the National College Player of the Year, led the country in points in the paint. He was a focal point of Dayton's offense, a team that advanced deep into the tournament and was in contention for the #1 seed at times. So it's difficult to blame the player when he's simply playing the role that's assigned to him on the offensive end. He would love to have more opportunities in low posts and the pinch post and as a high pick and roll screener, as a high pick and roll ball handler. But unfortunately, whether you want to blame Tibbs, whether you want to blame someone else on the coaching staff, or Obi's inability to prove that on the pro level, I think it's unfair to characterize Toppin as unable to contribute in ways that he hasn't shown. Whereas if you look at the bigger picture, and the 15 games he started, he's averaged 20 points on 55% shooting. That he's just simply doing the best with the opportunities he's given. And in the Knicks, when you're that backup 4 playing with that second unit, you're instructed to stand in that corner. I guess that's what Tibbs would argue.
He had an opportunity for 3 years to develop a low post game, fade away, hooks, bang, and the guy never did. Unbelievable.
Did he never develop it, or did he never have an opportunity to showcase it? I guess would be the question.
Well, he's on the court. That's his opportunity.
Well, look, I guess we'll see. If he moves on, time will tell. Time will tell.
Can I say one more thing on RJ quickly?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
RJ, I mean, last year was his 3rd year in the league, and they signed him for $30 million a year. And then he had an off year, and now quickly wants $100 million. Keep him for his 3rd year into his 4th year, and at that point he's a restricted free agent. And you let him prove his wear. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Love the show.
Appreciate the call, man. Appreciate the call. My guy wants the young guys to earn it. Let's go there. He said RJ got the bag and he's taking a step back. He said, what's going on with Obi IQ?
Is that what he's saying?
So,
oh my God. The Toppin caster. Thank you for that one, Dan.
Toppin caster. There you go. There you
go. Look, I agree with Tommy. Like, you only can do so much in 12 minutes when, well, the season prior, guy who was getting out in transition, getting you dunks, doing all those things, doesn't even get to do that this season because it's clear as day he's been asked to put up more threes. I mean, we've heard the conversation with Randall where he's like, Tibbs asked me to come in here and put up more threes to space the floor. So it's not just going to be applied to just Julius, who's going to get a bulk of those minutes. It's also going to be applied to his backup saying, hey, when you're out there, you got to put up some threes. We need some threes on this team. And that's not his role. And you got to give him credit for shooting what, about 35% on a thing that he didn't even come out of college saying is his strong attribute. He did on low volume. So you got to give him kudos there to at least saying he developed that. And to Tommy's point on the game started, I know the counter would be, oh, look at the talent against West and all that type of stuff. But I'm going to go back to what he did in the playoffs too, man. Like, he can compete. The dude can compete. He just needs minutes. He's not going to get minutes behind a guy that's now two-time All-Star, two-time All-NBA. Where are you going to find that with a coach that is known, like Nick Nurse? You know, they call Nick Nurse Nick Thibodeau for how many minutes he gives his guys. Where are you going to find minutes for a guy who needs time in? We could talk about RJ's step back and how it, but how he showed up in the playoffs. Quick, I don't know what you want from Quick. The dude was just in conversation for Sixth Man of the Year.
Finish second.
Finish second. I don't know what, like, I think over 3 years, for a guy who came in as a microwave scorer, he's now added some playmaking chops. He can now finish through contact, which is another thing that he couldn't do. You talk about defense wasn't even on his draft card. He's now a tough-nosed defender, fights around screens. Like, if anything, you could say that those two guys, right, have added stuff to their game that they came into the league not having. Quick more so gets the recognition just because the amount of time that he plays, how instrumental he was this season. But I think we got to be a little fair to like where opportunity and what you develop too.
Shout out to Mr. Dons. Welcome to the franchise channel members. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. The NBA free agency show, man. CP the franchise, Alex Rotaros, Tommy Beer in the building. Remember to salute and support our sponsors, man. We talked about Manscaped. Support our guys at Oakley. Go out there and get your latest summer styles at Oakley.com, man. They got a great line of shades for whatever sport, whatever you're into. If it's just leisure, if it's track and field, running, basketball, golf, whatever it is, man, Oakley has a pair for you. And a lot of their shades come with the this prism lens technology, which they can use for you can use for day-to-day use as well, man. So check out the various styles in season at Oakley.com. Check them out today. Salute to our sponsors, man. I'm fitting in. I'm growing into these shades day by day, Al. It's taking over me, man.
It's Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, I think so.
Snap it to the Slim Jim.
That's right, man. Okay, man. Pretty lackluster free agency so far, man.
Start, man.
I gotta wonder, it's a Harden thing holding things up.
I think the Harden thing in the Houston, what's Houston going to do? Jake Fisher just reported that they're potentially offering Brook Lopez more than the 2 years. I forget what the amount was. They give it. I think whether they decide between him, whether Lopez takes that money or VanVleet takes that money, if and when one of those guys, or if those guys don't, then it'll be who they're going to give the money to. So it'll be.
We hired Ime Udoka. We need to compete.
Yeah,
right.
No word on VanVleet. No word on Brook Lopez. No word on the Knicks. What are the Knicks doing? No word on Divincenzo. Max Strus. The blockbuster trade has not been announced yet. All right, so let's see what else we've had so far. Let's go. Let's start from the beginning of these Woj bombs here. So to everybody in the chat. Harrison Barnes goes back to the Kings. That was announced yesterday. Blazers releasing Trendon Watford. I like Watford. He's a little scrapper, but Blazers trying to free up a little cap there. Nets trading Joe Harris to the Pistons, and 2 second-round picks to the Pistons. And then so they trade him into the Pistons cap space, and they're able to realize a $20 million traded player exception and the flexibility to explore more deal making this summer. That's according to Woj. Also, Bruce Brown, big bag Bruce. Bruce gets the bag, man. 2-year, $45 million deal from the Pacers. And that was one of the things.
It sounds like that second year is a team option.
Team option.
I'm not sure if that's been confirmed, but I saw that floating around somewhere.
Yeah, you would think so from a Pacers standpoint, but being one of those teams with the money to spend, Bruce Brown was going to be able to capitalize and tack on with one of those teams, man. Yeah, he just won a championship with Denver, but money talks. And so now he's got a chance to really solidify his future. He goes there, which is why Denver making the moves that they made on draft night I thought that was a good move by them to jump out ahead of this, knowing that they were potentially going to lose a player like Bruce Brown, who was pretty instrumental in carrying their bench. He was their leading bench scorer, outscoring the entire bench during the playoffs. And so you saw the emergence of Christian Brown. Maybe he gets an expanded role next year, and Denver continues to retool in the draft, and maybe they find some more draft picks that are able to contribute at a high level on their rookie deals, which is certainly ideal. So both sides we're trying to do what's best for them. We'll see what happens with Bruce Brown in Indianapolis.
Jay from PR, front office on vacation, watching KFTV right now, laughing at us.
We're waiting.
Look at me with the shade, CP.
What?
Oh,
there you there you go. There you go, man. Salute to Charlie Cruz watching from Manila. All right, so salute to our friends out in the Philippines, Australia, everybody in the Asia Pacific region tapping in. We got a lot of fans who tune in with us from that area, man. So we definitely appreciate you guys. For everybody else, throw your cities, throw your countries in the chat. Let us know where you guys are tapping in from, and we will shout you guys out. Over 2,000 people watching with us live on KnicksFanTV and the NBA Report. Definitely appreciate everybody for tapping in. What do you got out?
CP, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, free agent forward Herb Jones has agreed to a new 4-year, $54 million deal to stay in New Orleans.
Yeah. He's too important to them. A lot of people were getting a little excited when they rescinded or they declined his I think it was his extra year in his rookie deal, but the reports were that both sides were intending to finalize a longer term deal. He's important for them, a young 3-and-D wing. I didn't see there was any chance of the Pelicans letting Herb Jones walk out of the door.
Yeah, no way they would let a young, arguably one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, especially young perimeter defenders, one of those guys that would have been a great fit in New York. You know, it's one of those guys that you can slide in alongside high volume, defensive, limited, players such as Brunson and Randall. A guy that can really lock down a 3-and-D wing like you talked about, CP. That obviously he wasn't an option because the Pelicans weren't letting him go anywhere, and the only reason that they didn't pick up that team option on the final year of his rookie deal was because they had a deal in place. But all right, fellas, that's about it for me. I appreciate you guys having me on. Always fun and enjoyable, and let's do it again soon.
Absolutely, man. Just let the people know about the newsletter where they can find you. Definitely appreciate the time, man.
Thanks, CP. Yeah, at Tommy Beer on Twitter, and the newsletter is What's on Tap with Tommy Beer. All the info in the Twitter bio and all that good stuff.
All right, man. Thanks again, and we'll talk soon. Hopefully, the Knicks make a move, man. We'll have to come back on and talk about it.
We'll be in touch, CP. Appreciate you. Be good, Alex.
Have a good one, Tommy.
Absolutely, man. That was our guy, Tommy Beer. Always a great guest tapping in with us on KnicksFanTV and the NBA Report. Be sure to follow him on all social media and tap in to the newsletter. Let me salute some people, man. Shout out DL212 checking in from Kissimmee, Florida. Franchise channel member as well. Shout out Nicholas Zayas. Says, shout out to KFTV. Al, been rocking since day one from Uruguay. Incredible, man. We are worldwide with it, man. It's beautiful. Perth Amboy, New Jersey. Shout out to Henry Rogers. Who else we got in here? NYC, EJP Entertainment. How you feeling? Kenny Scott tapping in from the D, Dallas, Texas. Salute. Salute to my guy, Muhammad Mustafa Wahad, Flushing, New York. Muhammad, salute by way of Fremont, California. We got Leon in the Bahamas. Jose from Puerto Rico in here tapping in, man. So we worldwide with it. Shout out Victor Perez in the 305, Miami, salute. All quiet on the Knicks front, man.
Too quiet, man. It's too quiet. I don't like it.
Man, what are we doing, man? Leon, what are we doing? Answer my calls, guys. Come on, man. What are we doing?
According to Jalen, KFTV Jalen, beardless Alex.
Jalen.
Beardless Alex Trateris has signed with KFTV for 3 months, $6 million per sources. Wow.
There we go.
Who knew?
I want to send Daniel some of our submissions that we received in the hashtag new Alex memes.
Oh, brother.
And let me try to find them. Let me try to find them.
If we got no free agents, I guess it's time to get roasted.
All right, yeah. Let me try to find some of these here. And hang tight. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. While I do that and send it over to Daniel, area code 870. What's your name? Where you calling in from?
CP, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Who we got? Is this Truth?
This Truth from Arkansas. Yeah, what's going on?
Ready, my guy Truth from Arkansas on the check-in. Let's go.
Yeah, what's going on, fellas, man? Shout out to the chat. Enjoying this free agency Friday. Had to make my NBA report debut.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to you guys and everything y'all been up to.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Gamble for all the work he does.
Yes, sir.
But I'm gonna ask could y'all let up off of Mitch for a second, because it's not like he'd be a focal point on the offense. He might play 30 minutes and get 2 shots a game. He'd be open for oops and all the time, and guys look him up to get their shot. Shout out to Cody Glock, because I've been a big Mitch high since 2018.
Okay.
We need to take a look at Tobias for Fournier, Obi, and Picks. If we can't get PG and them out, have a good day, fellas.
Already, Truth from Arkansas. Salute, man. What's the status with Tobias Harris anyway, man? What's the status there? Let's take a look at his contract situation. Yeah, let's take a look at that.
Looking for the contract situation right now for Tobias. Tobias.
He went in on Philly fans too, man.
Yeah, he really did.
I like that. He gave him that New York smoke.
He has one more year left on his deal, and he's 31 years old. One more year for $39.2 million. This is the last season. So does he stay? I mean, if you're going to lose James Harden and if you're Daryl Morey, you want to compete, I think you got to keep him, right?
Yeah, I Philly should have to keep. Well, should try to keep him. I don't see how you let that guy go. And even though he's not, I don't know, Tobias, he's a cool player. I guess this is throughout his career. Whether it was with the Clippers, early Philly. He just never really hit that level that I thought he was going to hit. We thought he was a bootleg Melo, little baby Melo back in the day. His Sixers ended up choosing him over Jimmy. They were not rewarded for that. Now, you bring in Harden, he dominates the ball. It's a Harden Embiid ticket. Maxi's the third guy. You got to sacrifice your game. I just felt like, even when Philly was choking it away against the Celtics, step up a little bit more, man. Harden's choking, Embiid's choking. Step up, man.
You could say this is kind of Doc Rivers effect, isn't it? Just like, well, that's Doc Rivers, what he gave him for that role. It's like, hey, man, I don't really have plays for you to be involved. So if you just be a 3-and-D guy, even though you're making close to $40 million a year, can you please do that?
Andrew, perfect. Underachiever. That's the word I'm looking for, man. He's been an underachiever his entire career. Meek Mill says Tobias acts like a Canadian. Nah. Come on, man. Don't do that. Don't do that, man. We're worldwide here. We don't alienate our friends up north.
Iller was the guy you were thinking of the other day who used to call in, CP.
That was. Yeah, Iller got his feelings hurt once we got rid of Iggy, man. He left us. He left us. Yeah.
And went to go back to root for the Toronto Raptors.
Listen, I mean, Canada got ballers, man. What are we talking about? One of their guys just won a championship, and Jamal Murray. You got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, damn near averaging 30 a game. And Canada got ballers, man.
Andrew Wiggins won a championship.
Wiggins. You got RJ. I rock with RJ,
Yep. Steve Nash back in the day.
Steve Nash. We'll see, man. We'll see. Can Canada finally, they've got that roster, but can they finally make some noise in the Olympics? Why are they never represented that well? It's very interesting what's going on with Canada, man.
Are they too friendly on the court?
I don't see it. I don't see it, man. So to everybody in the chat, man, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. This thing is going off the rails here. We're looking for some news. Anything. Nothing's happening. Bagley went off the air. Bagley went off the air. All right, Daniel, I just sent you some fan submissions on the new Alex memes. Let's take a look. Payback Carter in the chat. Wow, blast from the past. Salute to Payback. How you feeling? All right, Daniel, let me know when you're ready to load one of these up. This submission was from Sean Farhadian. He went in. He did like 6 of these joints. So let's pull up the first one when we can. We are giving away. He went in. This was from yesterday. He sent them like rapid fire too. So wow. Yeah, so we are giving away to the winner who has the best meme. We're gonna give away a KFTV merch pack. All right, Daniel, let me know when the first one is loaded up.
Here we go.
Okay. All right. There you go. So I forget which meme it is where the dude is chucking the deuces over a grave. So you got the new Alex chucking the deuces over the old one.
Oh, good Lord.
What do you guys think of the chat, man? 1 being trash, 5 being facts. How do we like this meme, man? You guys be the judge. Vote on this one.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's check this one out.
This is ridiculous.
All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so we got the meme with the guy checking out the other girl and his girlfriend getting annoyed. So the guy's Alex's beard. The girl is his wife, and the girl that's getting away that he's chasing is the 5 o'clock shadow. What do we think about that one? 1 to 5.
Wow.
How we like this one?
Jeez.
Hey, they like him. The fans are liking him, man. G Music. Jamel Hill signs with KFTV. Breaking news. Let's see. Okay, Sean's got a lot of fans. All right, let's go to the next one. Oh, okay. The second one they didn't like too much. Okay, the next one is I don't know where this is from. Some of you younger people got it. Is this from Incredibles? Where's this from? I don't know where this one is from, Al.
It looks like the Incredibles. Yeah, you're about to call me. Yeah, it's the Incredibles.
Okay, you look like a young. Okay, I don't know. I'm not familiar with this. So if this is funny to you, you just let me know if you like this. I'm not too sure what it is.
That hurts. I fear no man, but one thing,
yeah,
that scares me.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yam said he likes the first one better. Okay. First one was it. Okay, let's go to the next one. Let's go to number 4. You versus a guy she told you not to worry about. I gotta like this one, man.
Oh man.
What do we think? This is number 4. What do we think, man? Thumbs up, thumbs down. 1 through 5. Josh Richardson back to Miami. Okay, good pickup for them.
Yeah, they're getting ready to lose Max Strus, so they need somebody.
Yeah. You versus the one she told you not to worry about. I think that one's good. Okay. All right, next one. We on number 5?
Wow.
It was 5 that he submitted. Oh, no, it was 6. I'm bugging. Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture. They said they look like Jimmy from Degrassi, bro. What?
You know what's funny? I actually when I broke my leg playing rugby, I was in a wheelchair for about 3 weeks.
No way.
Yeah, I was in a wheelchair for 3 weeks. Broke my tib and fib, man.
Damn. That's crazy. That is crazy. Okay. Jimmy from Degrassi, what do we think? Okay, next one. Let's go to the last one. Wow. And speaking of Jimmy from Degrassi, we're going Hotline Bling Drake. The Hotline Bling Drake meme.
They're saying that the beard without the beard's better. Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, you got some decisions to make, my man.
Looks so.
You know?
Manscaped has some questions, I guess.
Yeah. Carlos, did the Knicks get Divincenzo? No. They did not. Wheelchair Jimmy. Okay, so they said that one's too basic. Okay, so I think the first one was a winner. I think I had a couple more in my inbox here, but I don't believe they're all that good. So I think since Sean was the one that participated the most, we'll give it to Sean. First of all, he made like 5 or 6 of these things, so he took the time to do that. So shout out to Sean. The first one, yeah, definitely the first one. Okay. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. We'll have some fun with it. 240, are you back? What's your name? Where are you calling in from? Hello. All right, this guy's watching TV. He's watching KFTV. He's got the phone on. What are we doing? All right, man. We're getting this guy out of here, man.
Doesn't even sound like the show.
Yeah, he's not even watching our show. What are we doing? Boy, oh boy. Okay. What's this Bleacher Report? What are we doing? What's this?
Suns want the Sixers to facilitate a 3-team deal that sends Tobias Harris to Phoenix, DeAndre Ayton to the 3rd team, and assets to Philly. Wow. Interesting. This was reported a while back. I mean, earlier this week or last week, right? That an Ayton to an Ayton Tobias 3-team swap. So Sun is looking for Tobias for Ayton. Interesting. Okay, maybe they're looking to have him fill the same role that he filled with Philly. Interesting Indeed.
Who's that 3rd team? Who would be getting Ayton? Who's going back to Philly? Harden, Maxey. A lot going on, man. Josh Richardson, 2-year deal with the Heat. Okay, there that is. It's 8:20. We're 2 hours into free agency, and nothing is going on. Has anybody heard from Leon, Wes? They're not answering my calls. What's going on here, man? What is going on here?
Are they working on that Obi Toppin trade to get Divincenzo more money? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, because they still won't have the full mid-level unless they make a trade. They need to free up a little more money. So I think that could be it. Because the trade hasn't been announced and the Divincenzo deal hasn't been announced. So I don't know what's going on there, man. Don't know what's going on there. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. The NBA free agency show live on Knicks Fan TV and the NBA Report, man. Lackluster so far. Bruce Brown getting the bag. Gabe Vincent going to the Lakers. What else we got here? Yuta Watanabe going to the Suns. Kyrie Irving staying with the Mavericks as we thought. Reggie Jackson staying with the Nuggets. 2 years, $10.25 million. Jeremy Grant gets a bag, 5 years, $160 to the Blazers. Does that impact the Dame trade? Probably not. Lakers also getting Taurean Prince. So it's gonna be a good offseason for the Lakers, man. Making some good moves on the to fill out the supporting cast. Kobe White staying with the Bulls, 3 years, $33. Draymond, 4 years, $100 with the Golden State Warriors. That's pretty much it, man. That is pretty much it. We are waiting for the Knicks to make a move. Waiting on the Harden news. And look, this Harden thing can go.
This can take some time, man.
It's going to take some time. I don't think Philly's in any rush. He opted in, so they're in no rush. And so this could take some time. According to this Miami Post, as we know this morning, Heat hopeful of emerging with a trade exception and a second-round pick in a three-way deal to send Max Strus to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Doc on the Discord. Doc, let's go. Doc, are you there?
Hello, y'all hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, sir.
Man, I've been listening to y'all. You know, y'all do great things on this, NBA report, KFTV content coming up crazy, and it keeps my work day busy. So I appreciate y'all for that.
Appreciate it.
I do listen to Alex a lot, or now Jesse from Full House. I like that one too. But he does say that this team doesn't like to do too much in the early stages of the offseason. They'll probably even wait the entire offseason and kind of make a splash on the trade deadline, kind of see what they have, see what's going on, which I don't think is a terrible idea. But I kind of am keeping my eye on the whole Harden PG talk. I don't know how it would kind of make sense for the Clippers and who they would be getting. I mean, a young talent probably from us, probably an RJ, probably a Quickly if RJ is not in that deal. But that's probably the most intriguing thing I have my eye on for the Knicks offense or for the Knicks this offseason. But I have a question for y'all though. I mean, I know y'all are concerned about the whole age thing and the injury thing. I like the whole 2-year rental idea because it doesn't put us too much strain.
Paul George?
Yeah, on Paul George, but a Paul George trade.
Got it. Okay.
What would if the Knicks do pursue Harden? Because I know I've seen the last show. I know you were like, it doesn't make sense. And I do agree with you on that. But how terrible of a fit would that be? Not only player to coach wise, but just like culture wise in general, because I just don't see that. Like I'm hearing these reports about Harden and I just don't see it. I like Paul George. I think that works more, less stress, fits the window, fits the window, with what we're working with, because we're not going to have, I think Paul George is a more Tibbs guy than James Harden is. I think he's a better leader than James Harden is.
Yeah.
I think he's a better defender than James Harden is. So we don't have to deal with everything else that comes with James Harden. Although if you asked me about this trade a couple of years back, probably when he was in Houston, yeah, of course. Now not so much. I mean, playmaking wise, it could probably make sense. He's not terrible at taking the backseat. And I think with Randall hearing what he said on the PG podcast, saying he wanted to be the number one guy and realizing that he wasn't ready for that. I know players like to say things on podcasts and, that fans like, and, they get their sound bites and all that. But, for me, that sounded pretty believable and kind of sounded like he's willing to give up the reins to whoever needs to get them and take the number one slot. And I know we all know Brunson's willing to do it too. So,
yeah,
I'd rather it be Paul George than James Harden, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely, man, and definitely appreciate the call and the support. I don't think the Harden thing is realistic whatsoever. I do believe in their interest in Paul George is real. Is it a 3-team trade? The Clippers, to me, their interest in James Harden would not come at the expense of a Paul George. I believe if they want James Harden, they want to bring him in to play with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and continue on their championship climb. That's what I believe. So I don't think there will be a 3-teamer where the Knicks would be getting Paul George. I don't see it that way. I don't think that makes sense for the Clippers to do that. In my opinion, you're trying to add talent to that team, not make a sideways or backwards move by trading James Harden in the deal for Paul George. Paul George could certainly help the Knicks. We talked about his skill sets is exactly what the Knicks need. But as a player of his age, I would only look at it as a 2-way rental, because there's no way I'm giving a 35-year-old Paul George a long-term deal, a 3-year, 4-year deal. There's no way I would do that, especially with his injury history and him being on the decline. Yet, although effective, still being on the decline. The Harden thing makes no sense for the Knicks. Why would you bring another ball-dominant player who doesn't play defense what exactly does that help? How does that help the Knicks improve? Why would you look to add a Harden and a Brunson backcourt? You'd be woefully undersized and you'd be atrocious defensively. And then offensively, why do you want to take the ball out of Brunson's hands when he was an absolute beast with the ball in his hands? He could play off of Harden. He's played off of Luka Doncic. But why would we now move Brunson into a supporting cast role or sharing that with Harden? That doesn't make sense at all, man.
Well, CP, he left Dallas too. I think part of it in that decision making. Yes, we could talk about getting more money, the opportunities to be in New York there and so forth, the history, the connections and all that stuff. But you got to think about the player too, right? There had to have been some expectation saying, you know what, I was playing second fiddle. I wasn't really the initiator in Dallas. I want to go to New York to be that guy that helped lead that team, to be the facilitator, to be that playmaker, to be the guy, to be that guy. To bring James Harden and you're saying to Jalen Brunson, you're not going to be that guy anymore. I don't think it would be in this front office's character to go do that and to go shake up something of that magnitude for a player that, you gave him those responsibilities and he overachieved, right? Remember the whole offseason last year is that don't expect Brunson to be like that final piece or anything like that, right? But he is such a valuable contributor to the New York Knicks that he overachieved. He showed how important he is to this team, how important he is when it comes down to the clutch, how important it is. We saw in Game 5 against the Miami Heat, right? He had to play all 48 minutes. In the few minutes that he sat out in Game 6, we lost that lead. That's how important Jalen Brunson is to this team. And now you're going to tell him that you're going to bring in James Harden, who commands the rock at all times.
Makes no sense.
It just doesn't fit the logic of what you have with this roster. So just stay far, far away.
Yeah. Shout out Patrick Graff in the chat says it's 2:30 here in Europe. Nothing from the Knicks, getting a bit sleepy. So shout out to our friends across the pond. Everybody staying up and trying to see what the Knicks do, or if there's any other moves, man. Nothing. It's pretty quiet so far. I want to introduce you guys to another one of our sponsors, man, and that is Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs makes excellent premium and stretch quality khakis, shorts, joggers, and other types of pants for today's man. Great cut, great styles. Salute to our guys at Bird Dogs for supporting us. And make sure you guys check them out. Go to birddogs.com/pool and use promo code pool for a complimentary Yeti style tumbler with your purchase, man. So check out our friends at Bird Dogs today. Okay, CB the franchise, Alex Rotaros on the ones and twos, NBA free agency show. Salute if you guys are watching on the NBA Report or on KnicksFanTV for the simulcast. Hey, it's all pretty quiet right now on the free agent front. I mean, I would have to think, is that it for today? Because
when things are going to happen, CP.
Yeah.
You know when everything's going to happen. It's going to be at midnight as everyone's getting ready to go to bed. Just like that CP3 was announced late at night, or was it Marcus Smart? What was it? It was like one of I think it was Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart was
yeah.
That was the midnight deal because they had to get that trade in before I think things close. So I feel like it's going to be another whole midnight thing for this, if not the next day, because if you're looking to get trades done, teams probably don't want to be hasty since this is just day one. They have some time to work things out. So I think they may just, take some time to figure out what the details of all negotiations are.
True indeed, man. Outside of this, how about the news today, man? A bloodbath at the worldwide leader in sports at ESPN, man. Jeff Van Gundy getting clipped. What? JVG getting clipped by ESPN. Longtime KFTV nemesis, Max Kellerman, out at the worldwide leader of sports. Jay Williams, Keyshawn Johnson, former Jet, Vince Carter, among others. Absolute bloodbath at ESPN as 20 people, 20 broadcasters and announcers get the axe from the worldwide leader of sports, man, as they look to cut cost and begin the Pat McAfee era. Interesting, man. What'd you think? I couldn't believe they got rid of Van Gundy. Are you
That's
serious?
shocking. That's shocking. Honestly, that's shocking,
man.
That's shocking because I think for someone who analyzes the game real time very well, for color commentary, that Jeff Van Gundy did it top tier. And I get that some people may not like the curmudgeon that he can be on TV, but still how he breaks down the game, seeing what not necessarily every fan is seeing in real time. He was able to do that to a T. Also, I just enjoyed when it's just him, Breed, Mark Jackson. I just think that's good comedy for commentary, man. It's just, I don't know why you want to break that up, but even Jalen Rose, Jalen Rose getting the axe today too. There's so many people who were staples of ESPN for so long. Maybe it's the changing of the guard, who knows?
Yeah.
But shocking to see how many people left ESPN. Feel bad for them because this was their livelihood. They did it for so long. They enjoyed it, right? What it means to them that it's probably part of their fabric, their identity, who they are, and you just got to feel bad for people losing their jobs. But rough, man. Rough getting that news.
Todd McShay gone. Jalen Rose, Susie Colbert gone. Steve Young out of there. A lot of people saying we should sign Kellerman.
Whoa.
What do you guys think, man?
Whoa. Kellerman.
Yeah.
How can you sign somebody who's not a fan of the Knicks anymore?
So many people added me at that, man. I don't like, of course, look, man, this is people's livelihood. You're taking food off their plate, and I don't like to laugh at their expense. But I did laugh when, man, people were tagging me like we should bring them to KFTV. That was pretty funny. But yeah, it's the McAfee effect, man. These guys, these platforms are getting hip to the new way of doing things, the new media, the podcast wave, low production costs, KFTV, hosting live streams with thousands of people remotely using Zoom. We was on that ages ago. Ages ago. You didn't need $1 million production set to put on a show because it's about the people. It's about the authenticity. It's about niche on-demand content. ESPN was slow to adopt that. So if you can't beat them, you join them. So now they acquire McAfee, which is a big deal because it's not just McAfee's show. His team they're getting shows on ESPN Plus. It allows ESPN to continue to promote ESPN Plus, their subscription service. McAfee also gets the benefit of having a show still on YouTube, but also on ESPN. So I think it's a great deal for him. A lot of his fans will criticize it, thinking they're going to change him. They're not going to be able to curse as much. He says they should be able to. Things aren't going to change. It's still going to be the same style of show. So we'll see. But for him, what he was saying was that, and I agree with him wholeheartedly, was that what McAfee was saying was that the reason why he went to an ESPN was because the work that was going into producing his show, it's a lot. And he was doing a lot of it. He was booking the guests. He was making sure the layouts were good. He was making sure the rundowns were there. All of that, when you're doing all of that in-house, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. And so to partner up with an established production house like an ESPN, if you can still maintain your identity, which we'll see, that's a plus. Because you don't need that. You don't want that type of minutia. You want to be able to just focus on your show, come in, focus on your show, and dip. And dip. So for Pat McAfee, which is now probably the number one podcast or media platform company, whatever you want to call it, it looks like that's a win-win for them. I could only imagine that JJ Redick and his group will get maybe an expanded role partnership deal with ESPN. But that's yeah, good.
No, I expect the same thing, CP. I mean, for JJ Redick, you see how it goes for him too. He has a lot of subscribers to his YouTube channel / podcast. It's just changing, man. I mean, it's funny that the comments are like, you're doing this from like, even though it's from our offices, it's not even a bedroom, but the jokes of like that, it's like, no, like you can just do so much. But to your point, like the focusing, like all the behind the scene production, and just like there's a lot that goes into it that not everyone is privy to, whether that's running a website, whether that's running a YouTube channel. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot of work, networking. You know, there's also still, you know, stuff that you have to meet legally. So there's just a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes. And to be a small production company, and to get the backing like ESPN has for like, how you're talking about for Pat McAfee, it's huge, absolutely huge. Because like any startup, man, you're wearing multiple hats. You're doing a lot of things, a lot of hands-on experience. You're wearing a lot of different jobs, and hopefully as you scale up, you're able to delegate those jobs so that way you can focus on what becomes more of a priority. But that's just the nature of the business.
Listen, man, when we're able to do these shows and like playoffs, and we have someone like Daniel on the back end being able to produce the show, it goes a long way for me. I mean, a lot of you guys have been watching this show since day one. I can tell you that when I got to produce this show myself, there's like 8 to 10 different things that I got my eye on to make sure that the show goes smoothly, right? We want to make sure that we got to set up the live stream. We got to add the thumbnail. We're monitoring the phones. I'm monitoring the Discord. I'm monitoring the chat. I'm monitoring the super chats. I'm monitoring Twitter. What's going on there? All the breaking news. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes of producing a show. And that's not even, we haven't even gotten to preparing to speak. So before I even get in front of a camera and start speaking on the state of the Knicks, on the state of the NBA, I'm still looking and have my eyes on 5, 6, 7, 8 different things to monitor to make sure that a show goes smoothly. So there's a trade-off there. But this, nevertheless, is the present day of podcasts and present day of media. This is where things are going, man. This is where things are going. So it's a changing of the guard, man. It's an absolute changing of the guard. But what I would say is these platforms like KnicksFanTV does not go anywhere if the people does not go anywhere unless the people support. We need the support of the people. This is why we ask to hit that like button, hit that thumbs up button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. Those are ways that you could just support the show for free, but it goes a long way in helping us grow our following, which in turn helps us increase our revenue, which in turn we can use to invest in the product and give you a better and better quality product every single time. We can invest in our production staff. We can invest in our creative team. We can invest in our social media. You know, we got to pay people to cut up our content and put it out there. We got to pay people to put the podcast up. We got to pay people to do our graphics, to produce a show. All of that costs. So our survival is reliant upon your support. If you love what you see here, we ask that you continue to support us. We appreciate the donations. We appreciate our loyal franchise channel members. But again, there's things that you can do on a daily basis just to support us for free. And that way you get what you need, which is premium quality content. I say this once, I say this again. There's not one Knick platform that will give you the best of all of them. the insiders from all the platforms, from the Hans to the Begleys to the Cats at The Athletic to the players to the you name it. Everybody, we've had everybody on the show, to the draft content, you name it. There's not one platform that has been able to do it at the level which we've been able to do it with the content and the quality of guests. So we thank everybody for their support. We thank everybody for their contributions. And we want to keep this thing going. Because as you see out there with ESPN letting all these people go, nowhere is safe. Nowhere is safe. You could sign a big bag with the worldwide leader in sports, and 2 years later, you're out on the streets. Right here at KFTV, we got a homegrown grassroots platform. Nobody can fire us. Nobody can tell us what to do. Nobody can tell us what to say. This is ours. This is ours. So, as I said, man, we appreciate the support, and we hope that you guys will continue to support. And we appreciate it. Okay, Eddie in the chat says, I'm out. The dude is feeling himself. Well, listen, I just speak the truth. If that doesn't work for you, that's okay. Because what I'm talking about is something bigger than me. I'm talking about ownership. Ownership. That's what this thing is about. This is what Pat McAfee is doing. Ownership. He's still going to ESPN, but he's owning his content. That's the big picture. A lot of you guys got to see the big picture. We're talking about ownership here. So that even through good times, through bad times, it's still yours. It's still your platform. And when it's all said and done for me, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. When it's all said and done for me, this is going on to my heirs to take over and continue to make it better and better and better. So that was a little too big. That was over Eddie's head. But it's not about me. I'm talking about ownership and support and supporting platforms that you enjoy. That's it. Simple and plain, bro.
Facts.
Yeah.
Speaking facts, man.
Yeah.
It's just funny. Every time I do, like, when I'm hosting, right? I always tell you, man, it's like flying a plane. All the things.
Yeah.
I don't even do, even still having Daniel as a producer when we do these things. It's like you're focusing on so many things going on at once. It's very hectic. Very hectic. Takes time, man. Takes time and practice.
It's not easy. Who we got here? Did they say VanVleet to Houston? There we go. Fred VanVleet, 3-year, $130 million contract to the Houston Rockets. As we expected, man. VanVleet gets a bag. 3 years, $130. What do you think, man?
Good for them. They need a leader. This is your leader.
Yeah.
They now have somebody who can orchestrate the offense, right? Who has that championship experience, comes in for Ime Udoka, can be his extension on the court. He's played with Nick Nurse, so he understands the grind of an 82-game season and what it means to be playing a lot of minutes on a nightly basis. So I think for Houston, this is a good signing. Like, you now have a point guard that can help get all these young guys in order. We had this conversation about Jalen Brunson last season, right? And the question was, is this still a good signing, even if he's not the last piece? And I said yes, because you got to think of how hard it is to develop a point guard, right? Not everyone comes in like a John Morant and is ready to attack. Some guys are more like the Mike Conleys and the Kyle Lowrys, where it takes time to develop and get your bearings. And now to have someone like Fred VanVleet, who's established in the NBA, to now help all the young guys on the Houston Rockets with their own development, right? It's not the blind leading the blind anymore. So having him help their development is going to be huge for Houston. Where this goes, win totals, expectation of production from that young team, that's another story. But you think about guys like Sengun, who are already pretty advanced for their experience in the NBA. Just having him and Fred VanVleet, that should be a good playmaking tandem right there. And now it's just getting, whether it be Jalen Green, whether it's Thompson, right? Jabari, I mean, that those are the next guys who could now have some sort of stability when it comes to somebody organizing an offense.
Yeah, I like the move. This was my free agency prediction when we did our show a couple of days ago, early in the week. I thought it was because Houston, like again, just like Indiana gave the bag to Bruce Brown, was able to pay him a substantial amount. I mean, Fred VanVleet is getting $43 million a year.
Bet on yourself.
He doubled up Jalen Brunson.
Bet on yourself, man.
Bet on yourself. He doubled up Jalen Brunson, man. Wow.
First, as Woj said, VanVleet lands the first max contract of the summer.
Wow. There it is. There it is.
Now, the thing is, CP, and we talked about with Tommy while I was on the show, what does it mean for the Raptors? You just lost your point guard.
You just lost your point guard.
You don't have Gabe Vincent. There was some rumors of Gabe Vincent going to Toronto.
Yeah.
So now, do they go out and get a D'Angelo Russell?
Yeah. Hey, might have to have some depth. Trent Jr., you probably don't have him on the ball as much, but you're going to have to. Fred VanVleet, man. Good pickup for the Rockets because they're going to be my League Pass team, man. I'm going to be very interested in watching them on League Pass, but he brings a winning mentality. He's a dog. He can be an extension of the coach out there in Udoka and somebody that the young guys can rally behind. So we'll see how he slots in there. He can play on ball. He can play off. Maybe Lopez is next. Well, they got 60 mil, so they're giving VanVleet 43. They got about 17 left to play with, roughly.
Yep.
43 bags for Fred VanVleet. Let's go.
Do you think they?
Bobby Taccio says VanVleet's the highest paid babysitter. That's funny. That's funny.
You ain't wrong, though.
Yeah. Yeah. From undrafted to $43 million. What did we think there? VanVleet to the Rockets. Okay, anything else? Let's see. Okay, that's it for now. VanVleet to the Rockets.
I see who you got there up on the screen.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Breaking news. The Cam Hive is not yet finished. That's Cam Reddish. LeBron gets his guy finally. Cam Reddish agrees to a 2-year deal with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Wow.
Cam and LeBron finally united.
Hey, look, and you talked about this on previous KFTV shows. If you thought anyone can get Cam into tip-top shape to play, it'd be LeBron.
There it is. This is it. So now
this is the final thing for you. If Cam reaches some sort of role player or whatever level of basketball play for you, this is it. This is the final straw.
The final straw is the Clutch Sports training camp. The Los Angeles Lakers. If you don't make it nowhere else, forget those guys at CAA, man. They didn't have your best interest at heart. Come to the Clutch Sports training camp with Bron and AD and everybody else. And there it is.
And
Clutch
Rui
Sports
went back.
take care of their guy. And Rui went back.
Yeah, for $51 million. 3 years, $51 million for Rui to return.
3
Money
years
makes no sense to me in the NBA anymore.
it's all out the window. 3 years, 51 for Rui. So congratulations to him. He's cashing out 17 a year. Good job. It's a good job. He had a rough start to his career. Left the game, tried to get his mind right. And he did. Got it right with the Lakers, man. Lakers and Rui Hachimura. 3-year, $51 million deal. Okay, there we go. There we go, man. Discord is still up. If you guys want to tap in, hit us up. What do you guys think? So to Ramon Dillon, welcome to the franchise channel memberships. Fred VanVleet damn near doubling Jalen Brunson. Salute, man. Salute. Shout out to Redman. Redman says, what's Brunson worth? Oh, man. When he opts out, yeah, you're going to go closer to 5-0.
Oh, man. And here's the thing. This is where, if you're thinking, like, this is where the quandary for the Knicks is, right? And we've discussed this.
Yeah.
Got everyone on good deals right now. The run it back. I know there's some that's saying run it back with the same crew. I hear that. It's a way to be patient, to not go after a star right now, just to check the landscape. But this is the other thing too, right? You see what Fred VanVleet is making. Jalen Brunson's going to command more than that. If that's what VanVleet's making. He took that team deal.
We're talking 50 piece, man. We are talking 50 piece.
And so when you see this contract, right, and you think about the window that you have on good deals to go trade for stars, you're like, okay, can we absorb, an overpriced contract right now? Not saying they should go out and go get someone like Zach LaVine, but this is the conundrum the Knicks are in. Do you go make a deal like that because you have everyone a good deal right now, and do you see if you can make that next step in competing throughout the playoffs and get closer to that championship window?
True indeed, man. Shout out to Redman, the $10 super chat says, salute to KFTV. Love the show. This is not only the best show, but the only show. So shout out to Redman. Shout out to Redman. Salute to him. Salute to you. Salute to New York Native 153. Says big ups to KFTV, man. Salute to you. Definitely appreciate the support. What other super chats we got in here? Who else we got? Okay, so to everybody watching on KFTV and the NBA Report. Let's get those likes up, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Okay, who else we got here? Salute to Uptown Twan. $10 super chat says, tell him CP I've been a day one. Not here all the time, but when I do pop out, I try to support financially. Appreciate the hard work from you guys. Keep it up. Salute to Uptown Twan, man. He understands the game, man. He understands the end game. Some people might not get it, but Uptown Twan understands what it is, man. G Music says, KFTV, let's discuss Jalen Rose, Vince Carter, JVG, or Jamel Hill signing. Who would be a great fit? Who would make a great fit? Jeff Van Gundy. Yeah. JVG would be the best fit. If we could sign anybody, it'd be Jeff Van Gundy. Easily. We could come on, we could do some weekly recaps. He wouldn't want to criticize Tibbs too much, but, he could definitely speak on the state of the team.
I did see some of that, and I like the idea of JVG going to MSG to join Clyde and Bream, but he's pretty open and honest on the mic. I don't know if you could beat that.
Would they like that? They would try to button him up. They probably give him a contract this long about things he can't say.
Exactly. So if you enjoy JVG's honesty, I don't know if you get that about the Knicks if he were to sign with MSG.
I'd love to see him be the successor for Clyde. Clyde's schedule is going to start winding down. So a lot less road games. Clyde's going to start winding down. I'd like to see him take over for Clyde when he's done.
I know they changed from that tiny table and they went back to like regular seating for those guys. But
I told you
how many he almost lost his wife twice, bro.
Twice. Had Clyde speaking out of character.
He was saying, ish, and not talking about Smith.
Yeah, man. Shout out Mr. William, man. 1072 $5 super chat says pre-production of KFTV and similar shows is on par with ESPN's and TNT's with 1,000ths of the budget. Shout out Mr. William, man. Shout out Mr. William. Mr. Dons, appreciate it. Absolutely. Yeah, let's get Van Gundy in here, man. Let's sign him to a deal. Big homie King Speedy says, KFTV, you guys are awesome. What do you guys think of the Toppin brothers? And do you think Obi will stay since the Knicks acquired his little brother? No, I don't think one has anything to do with the other. It's his little brother. I'm not talking about Michael Jordan here. Like, his little brother has no pull. I think this is just business. It's business in the sense that both sides, in terms of Obi and his representation, are looking for a place where he can get a better opportunity. to showcase his talents and to potentially earn a bigger check in a couple of years. And, I don't know what the motivation was to sign his brother. Maybe they legitimately were intrigued by his talent and gave him the two-way deal, or as is the case in the NBA, it's a relationship business. Maybe they said, look, you come try out with us, we'll take a flyer and we'll take care of you and give you a bag. You come get some money and see what we could do. We evaluate your talent, see if we could develop you. But I don't think that stops Obi from getting traded whatsoever.
Yeah. It didn't really, it's just, I think it's funny more so than anything else, because it was after the news of Fred Katz releasing the article saying there was a little bit of scuff between Toppin and Thibodeau, right? In the hallway or locker room. And then to see you draft Toppin's brother is just funny and a little interesting the next day. But two different players on two different trajectories right now. We're talking about the 8th overall pick, in the 2020 draft, who hasn't been in your starting rotation, who hasn't had a lot of minutes. He needs an opportunity to show what he can do. We're talking about former college player of the year. His brother coming in, was he on a 2-way contract, right? He's on a 2-way contract. So just trying to see if he can produce in the NBA, let alone the G League. So that's what's going on there. Two different trajectories. But it's cool. I mean, he's got both the connections that everyone jokes about. He's got Kentucky and CAA.
Yeah. There you go. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Free agency show. CP and Alex on the ones and twos. Looking out for some more news, man. All quiet on the Knicks front. VanVleet gets a bag. Bruce Brown. Gabe Vincent to the Lakers. Bruce Brown to the Pacers. Some of the more notable news. Lakers having a good free agency so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jacob Toppin is on a 2-way deal with the Knicks. It is a 2-way deal. Yeah. But yeah, Lakers are having a really good offseason right now.
Yeah. Good one so far, man. Okay. Look, we're about 3 hours into it. I would say let's table it here. And if anything happens, with the Knicks, obviously we'll be back and react to it all. But I would say let's take a break here, man. Remember to support our sponsors, man. Manscaped.com. Use promo code KFTV for 20% off plus free shipping. Also, Oakley.com. Go to Oakley.com, man. Check out the latest and greatest summer styles. And also support our guys over at Bird Dogs. birddogs.com/pool. Use promo code POOL for a free Yeti style tumbler with your purchase. What else? Remember that this show is available in audio podcast format. So check us out on all the major platforms. Bobby Taccio says, once you sign off, a big trade is coming. Yeah, it always happens that way. So, but like I said, if it does happen, we will be back on and tapping in. Who else said it? Olivier Pierre-Paul Super Chat says, we have to stop making decisions based on Tibbs. If a coach can't manage the talent they're given, there is no place for you in the league. Well, I mean, he's a coach. What the fans want and what Leon wants are completely different things in terms of the coach. So this is it. This is it. So you hope. Just hope for the best, man. That's just it. Just hope for the best. Shout out Danny Lee. Salute. Shout out Danny Lee. What time will we be back? Whenever the Knicks make a move. It's 9:00 here on the East Coast. So we will see what happens. But if anything happens, we will be back on. Shout out Gregory Weiner, man. Always in here. Salute. All right, Al. Great show. Daniel, great show. Great show, everybody in the chat. And we'll tap in later on. Peace. Salute you.